Mute. And is that it? Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 1:10 and ask us to have a moment of reflection. Thank you. So I will read the Indigenous acknowledgement. We would like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards of the land. The municipality is located within the boundary of Treaty 18, region of 1818, which is the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wyandot peoples. So we had regrets from Marie, who might be able to come in on her travels back from Chatham, but we're not sure. And we're hoping Chris is able to make it. So you have the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda? No? No. I have a mover and seconder. Seconder, please. Julia. Okay, this is a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor? Great, that's carried. Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? A series of reports to receive: the action plan update for January, the 2023 Respectful Workplaces Compliance Report, the 2024 Continuous Improvement Report, the 2023 Risk Assessment Report, and the CEO Service Update for January. May I have a mover and seconder, please, to receive those? John and Joanne. All in favor? Thank you. Pat you on the shoulder. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. We have 5 sets of previous minutes. It's a board meeting minutes of November 16, the committee of the whole minutes of the same day, the closed minutes of September 13th, the closed board minutes of November 16th, and the special minutes of November 30th, and the meeting with council, joint meeting with council. Does anyone need a little refresher on what each of those were about, or we're okay? I mean, there was a board evaluation meeting in there. There was preparation for the council meeting. There was an interview with our CEO. Yeah, so mixed bag. Any mover and seconder, please? Thank you. Oh, sorry. Mover and seconder, Sean. And I'll just put down Julia. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. That worked better. Okey dokey. Any business arising from minutes? We didn't put anything down, but things would come up in this agenda generally.
Just a quick question, and I apologize because it might be in here, but I might have missed it. Just in terms of planning for the follow-up to the presentation report on the SRI. Are we talking about it later? Okay, great. Fine.
Oh, but you reminded me, we need to talk about the conference.
Oh, yes.
It's Saturday, right?
Yeah, that's like, yeah.
Next Saturday.
Yeah.
You all like one?
Yeah.
Or, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what they did.
Okay, I can see this.
I think that's.
So you want, under other business, I will add OLA conference. Is that what you would like?
The
Okay.
conference, yeah.
Can I just ask what the Wi-Fi network is? Because for some reason it's not showing up here on my computer. It's Wi-Fi, right? Or am I,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
is it internet access?
Yeah, I think so, that's it, yeah.
yes, and there's no password.
Oh, okay. All right, I tried that a few months ago, it didn't work, but I guess that's, there we go. Okay,
Okay.
sorry about that.
Communications with the board, obviously no deputations, no public input on the agenda, and I see no correspondence. So we're moving directly into strategic plan updates and action items. You will notice that we rearranged something a little bit. So we would have action planning at the beginning. So I think there's some textual, some scheduling things I wanted to get up front, and then we can figure out how the rest of this fits in. So the first item is the 2023 action plan update. And I didn't look whether you reposted.
I did.
You did, okay.
Yes. So I have updated it so that it's actually 95% completion.
Okay, and there was the board evaluation, which is OE 2.10 is complete, and some of the board council meetings, I think the fall meetings were all conducted, so that was kind of like a 50% complete.
Okay,
That was OE 4.2.
I'll just go down there because if that's the case, I wasn't sure if,
4.2. Yeah, so I know I met with the mayor, I know Joanne, you met with Paula.
I have
you met-
not met.
You have not, okay.
No, so I'm, what's the word? In default or?
No, you just haven't.
Okay, so that's an incomplete, Susan, okay.
okay,
Who
for
was supposed
both
to meet?
spring and fall.
Peter,
Sounds like
Peter.
yes.
Okay.
yes,
Oh, I mean, I hardly see him myself.
yeah,
He's hard to get a hold of.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Marie had something set up with Gail. I think she was meeting with Gail, but I don't know what Chris had managed, if anything. She was
Yeah.
meeting with
Alex.
Alex, yeah.
yeah.
Who's meeting June?
It was
Oh,
Pat,
Oh,
and
right.
yes, so nobody.
So I would, well, personal opinion, Julia, I would just recommend that you take on June, meet with June.
Okay,
And because June would probably love to have a direct
Yeah.
board member contact.
okay. And
So what's
because
on
we
that
came to
agenda? That's the
healthcare too.
board
Oh, yeah.
You can have
council
that.
partner
Yeah.
for
That
June
seemed like a
Porter
good fit to me, but
Yeah.
is
Okay,
Julia.
that's up to the Madam Chair, I suppose.
No, I'm just saying,
That
did we
makes
just
sense,
put it into
yeah.
the agenda that, or into the minutes that you'll meet with June or
okay,
meet with June, yeah. And be the council partner.
Yeah,
Okay.
need your contact information, I'm happy to share it with you, of course.
I think I can get her just through the email, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Jay Porter.
You can, and you can also click onto the calendar.
Yeah, you
and,
showed me that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
Forgot about that.
okay. I promise to rectify.
so we will be in the 90 to 95 range in terms of completion rate.
Yes.
So that's good. Is there any other questions? Any questions you have? I didn't ask any at all about the 2023 action plans. This is the final version.
Of course, I have a couple, but, oh, sorry, this was 24, I was just thinking about just ideas for 2024,
Yeah, I
so
think,
it's fine,
and we're,
yeah.
yeah,
So that takes us to, oh, we received it, okay, to the annual and multi-year agenda. And I actually made a number of changes to this. You saw the edits in the board package, right? 'Cause it showed it was track changes as to try and align things a little bit differently. And in particular, I wondered about doing more committee of the whole meetings. And you saw that in February, I suggested a committee of the whole to draft the annual action plan. Because at one point we had it on this agenda, and having already had the discussion that we wanted to approach it differently, I didn't think we should start by looking at the old style.
right,
We should maybe start a little bit cleaner slate. So that's why I thought we could dedicate February to committee of the whole, because we didn't really have any other pressing business. Even the quarterly financials that we often had listed in February didn't show up until March anyway, because it's the year end.
Right,
And I wondered, we are required by legislation to have 7 regularly scheduled meetings. I think we now have 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we could actually change one other meeting to committee of the whole if we wanted. And some of the topics I saw as possibilities is the social return on
Yeah.
investment.
Mhm.
And I think maybe that also relates to the data question, because of what data do we
Yeah.
want to be collecting? What do we think are the metrics that are measuring? What do we want to measure?
Yeah.
And all of that kind of also comes from the work that you guys did
Mhm.
in the fall in preparation for our joint meeting. And I think probably those two connect nicely together.
Mhm.
And we also, at the November meeting, talked about doing the board evaluation differently, because I don't think any of us found it terribly satisfying. And I also think when we take a look at the action plan, that's also been part of how we evaluate the CEO. So I think we could take a look at the
Right,
evaluation
structuring that,
package
yeah.
as well, whether it's the CEO, it's whether it's us, whether it's our progress on the action plan. I think they all kind of tie together. So I didn't particularly have a meeting that I wanted to suggest that we do that, but maybe we can sort of play it by ear, approve this as is. We know in February we'll do the action plan. And then we can see when we might throw in another planning type meeting. Last year, we had it in April, we had a full day planning meeting. Other years we've had it in May, so we can readjust that later. But, so that, if that works for you guys, we can take a look at, this annual and multi-year agenda, and if you'd like it as a starting point for this year, we can approve it, or if we can make other changes.
Yeah, so I think we must have looked at this. Did we look at this last year? If so, I was so brand new.
Exactly, yeah.
So I was like,
yeah.
oh, I don't think I've seen this before. Maybe I did, but I like the idea of having it in one place. I think it was really helpful and your changes look good.
Okay. Any other comments? Are we,
Now I'm wondering if it has been updated, but, and that was the other thing I was thinking, was we should also make sure that we're planning for an annual SROI. So if we have to start pulling numbers, I'm not sure what the cadence is, or when, like, if there's a 2024 template that's gonna be released or whatever, then, and again, I'm sorry if it's in this agenda package, but at the end of this year, we should be making sure that we're getting ready if necessary, or,
so this is about the social return on investment?
Yeah.
Yes, that is coming up.
yeah,
So we
sorry, so for the 2023, but what I'm thinking in this, if we're talking about agenda items and making sure where things
Okay.
are covered, that we just as a check-in, that somewhere on,
So
I
you're
would
saying, would
say
we,
in December.
so
or
would we do
November.
the study annually? Is that part of
This
your
is, I guess it's part,
question?
maybe that's part of what we should talk about, is whether it is an annual or every 2 years or
And
whatever, I don't know.
I
I
went-
honestly don't know what the expectation
I
is.
went to the presentation, I guess it was last week.
Okay.
I know you went to the one in November, I think.
Yeah.
And they talked about they're already going to be updating it this year,
Yeah,
so,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
obviously, you know, when a new initiative it rolls out and there's probably some glitches, some areas that need refinement.
Yeah, well, this being the first year that everybody's filling it in, or a
Yeah.
majority of people are filling it in, so anyway, so we'll put that on the table as an item for discussion on the committee of the whole meeting in February, is if we do this. That, because it is a lot of work.
Well, we can come back to it under that agenda item.
Okay.
Because
And I
Jen
had-
can give us an update on,
Yeah.
and maybe address a couple of those questions.
Perfect.
If we want, we can wait and deal with this again later in the agenda after we've had that discussion, or we can move it now. We can always amend it later anyway.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
think that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let me get a mover and seconder to approve the annual and multi-year agenda. Julian. And Sean, thank you. Any other discussion?
I did note, so just for clarification, so every 4 years we do a strategic plan
Yeah.
and we do it in the last
Go
year.
to our third year, I think.
It says 4 here.
So,
under
yeah,
April.
you're right.
But that's for 4th year, so we're not doing it this year, just year 4.
Yeah, and we're in
Yeah.
year 2 now.
Right,
Just feels
Okay.
like you've been here longer.
yeah.
Yeah, I think last time around, we decided in year 3, the process we were going to follow, and then we actually implemented the process. So
In
we
year
had the
4,
plan, yeah, in year
yeah.
4.
Did you do it on your own, or did you require?
We did it, well, we had a staff member who's now on mat leave, who led it.
Okay,
So we'd have to have that discussion whether, what our staffing levels are, and whether we could do that way again, or what. We also did a very comprehensive approach last time,
yeah,
using a system called the Harwood
okay.
Institute. So, yeah, it may be a bit different this time around. Hi, Chris. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So can you note that Chris arrived at 1:25?
Yep.
And that was just as we are dealing with the multi-year. Any other questions or comments on the annual multi-year agenda? Okay, in which case I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. That's carried. I can just find it there, I guess. Oh, you'll notice that the numbering in this system went a little bit wonky because of the tabbing was off. This is all F, as of not G. Yeah, I can never make that work either. So let me get this out of the way. Okay. So any discussion on our joint meeting with council, just as an update? You recall that we sent correspondence December 8th, asking for reconsideration of that motion that did not pass. It was lost 3-2. And we know that there was a couple of people missing from that meeting, so we were rather hoping that it would be able to come back. And so that is on the January 29th council agenda. So the process is that it will have to be a notice of motion brought by somebody who voted, what they call on the prevailing side. So in case someone who voted against the motion, to bring it forward. And we're hopeful that that will happen. So one of the things I wanted to, and of course you realize, is about asking that our CEO be appointed to the multi-use feasibility study committee. So that's the topic. So I'm hoping that we can have a good presence at the January 29th meeting. And I understand, thank you, that the way that happens is correspondence is early in the agenda. So one of the steps would be that someone would have to pull our correspondence out for separate discussion. And then the notice of motion would happen at the end of the meeting. So we may want to talk about, since none of us may want to be there for a bunch of stuff in the middle that doesn't relate to us, is who might be able to be present at the beginning and who might be able to be at the end, or maybe someone can come back. I can certainly make a point of, I put it on my agenda for that Monday, I guess it is. And I don't mind sort of coming in the morning and then returning. It's just being able to time it. That's going to be a
It's
bit
hard to know.
tricky. So it may be that
What day is it again?
It's a Monday, the last Monday.
the 29th.
And maybe our friend could send us a text message?
Good. But I don't know how far away everybody is or how.
I'm close.
Okay.
I would need about 15 minutes to get back.
Yeah,
So
and
if
I'd
you knew
need,
within about half an hour.
yeah,
But I don't want to leave that on your shoulders in case things suddenly move quickly in a different direction.
It's difficult to know, and all, so.
We won't know until the agenda. Comes out.
Just actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, you don't actually have to be there for the notice of motion part, because all it is one of the members of council that voted in the affirmative in the last vote is just gonna say, I'm making a notice of motion. And the clerk will say, in what regards, and they'll say, I'm making a notice of motion to reconsider this vote on this day. And that's it, there's no decision that gets made, so don't worry yourselves about being there at the end of the day. It's just a plug-in for the next cycle.
Oh,
Oh, okay, so the actual discussion would then happen at a subsequent meeting.
okay.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
And would we know the date? Like, is the date fixed already? Would it be at another council meeting that's scheduled, or would,
It would be on the next available meeting.
so
So it'd be
the
the committee
following
of the whole,
month?
it'd probably come to the committee of the whole meeting, the first committee of the whole in February. Which is the 5th. Most likely it would come to the 5th.
So that's the date.
So is there an opportunity to speak at that meeting then, or are we just there to listen?
You're only to make public comments in regards to a certain subject on the agenda. So the correspondence isn't exactly a subject, it's correspondence, right?
Mhm.
So it'd be really at the next meeting, whenever this notice of motion is being brought forward to reconsider this vote, there would be public comment period at that point.
So we don't actually have to present on the 29th? No, oh, okay.
No,
You have to read
No.
it. Okay, okay.
So
Yeah,
did you
I mean,
say, we don't have to be present, is that what you said?
I said, do we have, sorry, two things, do we
No
actually have to, we don't have to present, and now it sounds like we don't even need to be present.
It's not at the end of the day, no.
At the end of the day,
well,
okay.
wait a minute,
So
you're
it's just,
qualifying it.
we
so
want to
we'll
be
go
there.
Start of the day.
At the start of the day, when it's probably good
When
to
there's
have it,
correspondence,
to
yeah,
have us there, yeah,
because that's
okay.
when there'll be a discussion for.
Okay.
pulling
Okay.
the correspondence.
So
And
that's
that's-
on January the 29th.
I
Yeah.
can change, I can be there early.
Yeah, and that's pretty easy to be there, because correspondence is early on the agenda. So you're probably committing to being there between 9:30 and 10:30 or something. I can do that for sure.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if as many of us as possible
I can be
can.
there.
Mhm. I think I can be there too.
Okay. So that's good.
So
Okay.
are we relying on the 2 or 3 other council members to try and see if they can convert one of the ones that voted in? As opposed to us trying to do anything,
Right.
okay?
I mean, I would assume that June is going to remain supportive.
Yep.
And that Paula will probably also be supportive. She wasn't there when
So
the
she
vote
signaled,
happened.
I saw some documentation that came through that she signaled she would be in support. But again, you never know until they do the vote.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
Yes. And then, so on the February 5th, that's the meeting we should also be at,
Mhm.
the same, because that's likely when it's gonna come up. Sean,
Yeah, we can assume, but we won't know, right?
because we won't know until the agenda comes out, which is.
Mind you, if
week
if
before.
it's turned down on the 29th, then it won't go to the 5th.
Oh, that's true.
But
Yeah.
still.
What's that, the correspondence?
If the notice of motion doesn't carry,
No.
no, it is, it's automatically,
No, the notice of motion is just a notice of motion.
just,
I'm moving this,
And there's no discussion.
there's no discussion. No.
Okay, so we don't need to be there
At
on the
the end of the day,
29th?
not at the end of the day, you can be there, of course, because as you said, so
Just to look
correspondence,
interested?
correspondence is item B, yeah, well, or you can just come in and attend virtually too, but. It's the next meeting that the actual notice of motion is formalized.
Okay. What
And-
time does council?
9:30. Yeah, that's what I was trying to dig out here, just to be sure, yeah, so correspondence is item B, so it's after
yes.
previous
okay,
minutes, so it's
Okay.
fairly soon.
And then, it's all process stuff, I know, Sean, but, so if it goes forward to the February 5th, does it, again, is it something that happens at the end of the meeting, or does it get slotted into it as a particular item? We don't know until we see the agenda.
I don't know. Yeah, depends on how Madam Clerk arranges it.
Okay, okay, and it comes out a week in advance, so we can see, it. Well, it wouldn't be on the 29th. I guess it would be on the 30th then, that an agenda would come out. So we can look on the 30th to see where it might land on the
So
agenda.
when it's public comment, you don't have to have registered ahead of time to say that you want to make a comment to something that's on the agenda?
You don't have to be there in person, you have to notify the clerk if you're attending virtually, you need to notify them that you would like to speak.
Yeah, if you're virtual,
Yeah.
okay.
And you don't, and just again for process, it's, you have to speak before the item comes up on the agenda, so there's a public input period, and it's for items that are subsequent.
You can also speak after, because when that's what there's a public comment period at the beginning and end of each
Mm.
session. So the public speaking, that's a long time ago. Public comment period at the beginning is if you want to make, you're kind of pitching your case, or you're trying to make your opening, like an opener. And then, which you still only have 3 minutes, right?
Right,
So you have 3 minutes
So
to
you're
say,
trying to influence the vote before it's taken.
maybe you're trying to clarify some things, I don't know, it depends on what it is, right? I'm just trying to be general. I'm just
Yeah.
broad stroking this.
thank you.
So you can speak before, and then then the item comes, and then it gets discussed by council, and it gets voted on, and then you're allowed to speak to it after, because you're speaking in response to the decision that was made.
But it's too late then, because the decision's already made.
Don't know what too late, it's, you can respond, well, you can choose to respond positively, or you can choose to not respond. And like, if it didn't go your way, actually, it's most of the time that it doesn't go your way that people respond with a, like, a very,
I mean, in the same.
very disappointed.
Yeah,
There's something we still want, so you could, you would still like, so we could have made additional, I don't know if that's the case. but,
Yeah, you could say-
We might have stood up and said, we're hoping you'll reconsider, here are some points that weren't made.
Yeah.
There's always,
Wouldn't it be
it's
better
just-
to do that before you make a vote?
but you don't know why,
You can make that point, and then,
Well,
because,
just to try and,
at any
Sure.
point, you could, well, you do, that's why I think what you're saying is you can do both.
and here's the thing, is that it's committee of the whole, so
Yeah, it's just-
sorry, this is a council meeting, and then, it's a committee of the whole that this would come to, hopefully, if you get in that soon. And then, you could also say, I'm a bit disappointed that it wasn't carried, but, and then you can clarify these things, and then it can still come back at the next
Yeah.
council meeting,
So maybe someone who voted no, would make.
That's what I'm
changes
saying,
about
like,
it.
nobody should ever be completely discouraged, it's never really gonna be gone. It's just, how hard you wanna fight for something, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of our topics, or a lot of the things we were talking about gain support afterwards, is because some of my colleagues started to ask the right questions to the right people. And then they started to go, then,
oh,
or
well,
then they start doing, they do some extra research, it's fine, and that's where it can always just be brought back again. Mhm.
But it could just pass,
That would be nice.
Yeah, it could just happen.
Yes.
without much
that's
speaking.
what we're hoping.
Yeah.
That would be nice, yeah.
But,
I wouldn't count on that though.
Well, that's.
No, it's becoming more and more evident, and all it takes is the majority in the room to make it happen, right?
mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Fairness and feasibility, right?
Yeah, yeah. But it's also one of the reasons we want to have regular meeting with councilors, that we have an open conversation going on. So anything that's coming up in the agenda, library will be, they'll be thinking of it and aware of it.
Mhm.
And then they can look at it and go, oh, I wonder, well, this might affect the library, because when I was talking to Joanne recently, whatever it might be. So that's one of the reasons I think that the relationship is so important, and have those regular meetings.
Mhm. And I'm not sure where this might fit in, maybe this does fit in with this track, Madam Chair, is that, I spoke with, because the Craigleith Community Working Group, of which they're a working group, and I was under the wrong impression, so we as council members we don't select people that are part of a working group, they're putting themselves forward, and they're saying, they made their list of, what they call the low hanging fruit for the community of Craigleith that they would like to have happen there, right, like something that's attainable. And then I spoke with one of their members yesterday, and I said, did you ever talk to our CEO or even, interested in making a pitch to the library board, because the library board was pushing for this? And he said, well, no, he's like, I didn't know anything about that. I'm like,
Who said that?
one of the members of the Craigleith working group. And he said, well,
Mhm.
that's not, he said, that sounds like a great idea. I'm like, it's too late now.
But I thought that I saw something come out to say that that's now a committee.
No, It's not a committee.
Still a working group, but it's
Still a
just been
working group.
extended.
In fact, that working group has been dissolved
That's
as
what I
of
thought, yeah.
Monday,
Oh,
or Tuesday, Monday to Tuesday.
okay.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah. Everything kind of runs together. Yeah, that has been officially dissolved because it's in their terms of reference. That's where the terms of reference state. If they're gonna meet for so many meetings, and then the committee will, that working group will be dissolved, and then they'll move to phase two. I don't even know what phase two is, nobody tells me anything on there. So what my recommendation to this member of that group was, maybe in phase two, you come and you talk to us, our CEO and the library board, because, we were trying to make our pitch
Yeah.
to be part of that Craigleith community as a library, as an extension of the library. He said, oh, that would be great. I'm like, well, your support is a little late.
Maybe not,
But again, I
because
mean,
there's still a feasibility
yeah.
group is still. moving
Well,
ahead.
and their phase two, because remember their phase one was really focused on
Transportation.
and safety and, pedestrian safety and stuff. So, and there was an element in some terms of reference I saw where it talked more about community inclusivity and other things that sounded more like library type stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, we might fit in there. You guys probably remember that from one of
Yeah,
our discussions.
yeah.
And so when they moved to phase two, that might be when,
Yeah, there was a breakdown in communication for sure.
yeah, there definitely
So
was.
maybe we should take the initiative to invite them to one of our board meetings to have a conversation.
There was, yeah, when there
Well,
is
they don't exist
them
now.
again, yeah, there's no longer them.
If anybody hears that they're.
So I don't understand, they dissolved, but they're gonna be resurrected?
Mhm.
For phase
They'll
two.
be resurrected, because there's some members of that working group that will be, and sorry, Madam Chair, we're getting off track here.
No, I know this is
But
fine.
we're
This is
getting,
fine.
so the committee, that working group is officially, is dissolved. But that doesn't mean that the people that were strategic, they created like zones, like 7
I
zones
saw
in
that,
Craigleith
yeah.
for the specific needs for each zone. It was actually very enlightening, like it was a really actually great idea to get community input to, what would make everybody happy down there. And I thought it was a great initiative, really, but some of the members of that working group are moving on, right? Like they were part of phase one, that's probably all they wanted to be part of. And now whatever phase two is, they're gonna
And
be,
who's responsible for setting up phase two?
I have no idea, I don't know anything about it.
That's part of the reason it was confusing, is it
Yeah.
seemed to start with BMRA,
Mhm.
and then it became something that was
It was
in
quite cross-pollinated with BMRA, because a lot of them are BMRA
members.
members, but they were there to be the Craigleith Community Working Group.
Yeah, and then it got attached to the town but it was all a little bit opaque. I'm not saying it deliberately, so it was really hard to figure out who was on first.
Well, maybe we should
And-
just make an action item of each of us, asking around, continually asking.
Or
and
asking the
finding out.
CAO what his
The
plans
CAO.
are.
Well, CAO brought forward,
For you
Yeah.
to do.
CAO brought forward a report at the last meeting.
I
They brought
read it.
forward a report of the findings and the wants and needs of that working group. That was his job.
And it was not related at all to future facilities, it was
It was,
related to more probably basic.
we want our parks, we want parks, we want parks, we want trails to connect, we want pedestrian safety and sidewalk clearing.
Yeah, which is all valid.
Yeah, no,
I don't think-
totally.
Mhm.
I did read that report too, and
Yeah.
I thought it's valid, but then they went on in his report, there was also the multi-use and
Yeah,
some other, things that would be more applicable to where we would fit in. But there was no plan attached to any of that part of it yet, and that must be the phase two.
Yeah,
maybe.
so if we can
Maybe.
ask Jen to, maybe next, she has quarterly meetings with the CAO, is to
Yeah.
raise that, and say, so we'd be interested in getting information on that Craigleith,
Phase
its
two.
initiatives, phase two, early enough
Yeah.
that we could volunteer to participate.
Well, especially, yeah, but is there an incentive for the town to want us involved in the Craigleith Working Group?
Probably not.
Okay, fair enough.
Just a
On-
reminder of live stream.
On the other hand, I'm sure he will be honest with Jen when asked the question, so
Mhm.
I mean, you can ask, there's nothing wrong with asking.
Yeah, just ask, yeah.
Mhm. And if any of us know members of that,
But quite honestly, that is a discussion that our CEO can have with the CAO, because the CAO might say, you're probably not gonna be interested in the phase two because, but I don't know, or whatever it is.
It may be,
He might say phase two is actually just really this, and this. And then you go, oh, okay, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's lots to do in a day, right? So
Will the CAO be involved with the working group? Or, yeah, I'm just trying to
Was.
clarify, because they set up and they kind of act independently and then they give a report.
Yep.
So.
So he
okay,
was involved,
Anyway,
yeah.
so, I mean, it never hurts to ask, I think is the, as we said, so.
well, if it originated with
His decision.
BMRA, then I think you're on BMRA, yeah, the
Mhm.
member, so you should be able to get correspondence that would
Yeah.
be also give us a
Reach out and
heads up
ask.
if they're starting
Yep.
up somehow again.
I must
I will
rejoin
ask.
BMRA, because I think I'm off by some
So the
reason.
minute should mention your thing with
It's annual, they just
Sean,
send out
and
a
also-
reminder for.
Joanne
I got their email.
watching before.
Join us for $25.
I know, it's
Any
like, yeah,
further
I
information on the
expenses.
next phase of the working group.
Okay.
Okay.
Think they're gonna help me any?
Well, it's just, I would say there's some really good thinking and work that's done on all aspects of the town. I like the,
It was great, yeah, that
Oh,
one
sorry.
day that we went to was fabulous.
yeah,
I thought it was nice when they come and we say, we like this initiative, right? It's like, it's nice to have that positive reinforcement that,
yeah,
you know, it's not all fire and brimstone, like,
right.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, specifically coming out of November 30th, was an email from Joanne, where you suggested, do we want to follow up with correspondence to the Director of Community Services, because he had committed to collaborating with Library Services in terms of the feasibility study, or do we want to wait and see what actually happens in terms of the notice of motion and our correspondence and see where that goes? So I would rather work at the council level first, so we can always wait on that, because I know you wrote that email back in December.
our CEO.
I do have one comment. I did meet with Ryan on Friday, and he mentioned that despite the joint meeting and the resolution, that I could actually be invited to and attend the meetings, and it's not, my understanding is the committee itself doesn't formally vote on anything, so even if I were to be present, it's not a matter of being a non-voting member. I could actually attend the meetings
Oh.
and have a voice.
You would be a guest,
Yes,
and that's what happened last time. This is what everybody,
Right.
unfortunately, you weren't here, but this is what
Right.
happened last time, is that Sabrina was a guest, and she only was invited to one meeting.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why, so just to clarify, that's
Yeah.
why the push to formally, like through council.
Right.
Make the direction that the CEO of the library, Jennifer, will be on this committee,
right,
right? Because otherwise you're just a guest, unfortunately, you
Yeah,
know.
And
like-
it's not at your initiative, like you're waiting for the invite from them, so you have no control.
Just to, hopefully that helps to
yeah,
clarify.
no, it does,
and if the Collingwood CEO, library CEO is on the committee,
Yeah.
then same.
That doesn't
Yeah.
make sense, why we would have that person. I
There
don't
should
know.
be equal
Yeah, that's-
representation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
It's simple.
that's what we're
equal
going.
representation.
Yeah,
Because whatever the library, as I said earlier, when we, before we started the meeting, that CEO, you might have two different, you know, reflections on what might be important,
Mhm.
right? Which would both be valid, but for the one, who knows?
Yeah,
forgive me, because I don't know the history of this, but how was that working group established? Did council appoint in Collingwood and in the town of Blue
No,
Mountains?
we made, so I can clarify that.
Yes,
We-
please.
We made direction that we have a regional approach to a multi-use feasibility study.
Okay,
Right? And so our direction is what tells Ryan what to do, right? So he reached out to all of our neighboring communities, like not just Collingwood,
Meaford.
Meaford, Grey Highlands,
Highlands.
and
Osage Beach?
Clearview maybe, I'm not sure if they did,
Okay.
but either way, just like our kind of immediate circle, and the rest of them said, no thanks. Right, which is fine.
But why the library in Collingwood? Is there there's other folks from Collingwood too?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Collingwood folks said, we want our library person there.
Mhm.
All right.
And this is the RFP, the outcome.
the
of
outcome is, yeah, writing RFP.
The outcome of this is an RFP to look at all of multi-use needs in both Collingwood and the town of the Blue Mountains,
The feasibility.
the feasibility.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to create one facility.
Correct.
It's just that they're looking at literally the same
What
thing.
are the
for
opportunities?
areas,
Who's
so-
offering what? Where are the gaps?
Yeah.
Where are the trends?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it might make sense, which is again why it's really important that both of our library CEOs attend, because you may, if we're gonna end up with two different buildings,
Right,
and we've already addressed there's certain needs in one area that another doesn't have, that's, okay.
I guess where I get confused is if it's not a committee of council, why do we need council's permission for me to sit on the
You
committee?
don't need permission, we need council to direct.
It's direct.
Staff to, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To invite you and make sure you're on the
Mhm.
emails
Okay.
and the.
Yeah, I totally understand that you are your own island, as you are under the umbrella of the library act. But we want you to be part of we want you at the table. right?
Yeah, that part I completely understand. It's the process that I'm
Yes.
trying to wrap my head around.
And unfortunately, it's politics.
Yeah. Okay.
I had one other topic I wanted to discuss sort of within this general context of the joint meeting. But before I do, is there anything else to do? I just want to say
I'm
something.
just mixed up. Where are we on the agenda?
Next page,
But we haven't, so
We
we've
did.
received these.
we did.
Because I had a comment on one of them, but
We
does
did,
that
we'll
come later?
discuss them later. We just received them.
Okay,
to get
okay,
them on
that's
the
where I got
agenda.
mixed up.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we
So
are
now
in,
we're kind of follow up from
Q1.
this.
yes, okay,
Okay,
yeah.
So just to come back to your first, just to finish off, I think waiting for the notice of motion before we send a note to Ryan, you had a conversation with him,
yes.
just to sort of close that idea,
Yes.
so I think let's see if we
Wait.
need, if we do need to reach out to him separately, probably after that.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay, so the thing that came to my mind as we were having that discussion, was I think it would be good for all of us to read the budget, the town budget.
Oh, who wants a copy?
Actually, I would, yeah, I would, I mean, 'cause I hate reading it on screen. Because there's things that even just a quick scans I went through and I listened for parts of the days, which was hard to do when you're trying to do other stuff too. Never mind having to
I
sit
was-
there.
I was there every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be pretty agonizing, I'm sure. But I saw, for example, there's an intent to do a review, I think, of the leisure activity study in 2026, which I was kind of surprised to see that kind of agenda, that thing in a 2024 budget. So there is obviously some of the things down the road show up in these budgets quite early on.
Well,
And
it's part of the wish list program.
yeah, which is fine. But I'm thinking, well, we definitely want to be involved in the leisure activity study next time, because that's where we missed the boat. Because we were told we would be a stakeholder, and then we got invited as a guest. So we didn't have really any,
Yeah.
and,
What
for
was
one
that?
meeting.
What was
So, where can we, I think it's on page 54,
that? 54?
page 54 of the budget.
Yeah.
And but it made
When
me.
was that, when was that shared?
The budget?
The budget it wasn't shared with us, it was the budget published by the town,
Yeah.
and it went live, I don't know. 2
Oh, I
weeks ago?
see, just on the town website.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
during
yeah.
studies and plans, okay.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, it's studies
We
and
can,
plans.
yeah, that's
That's a lot
2026
to read
studies and
through.
plans, yeah.
Well, you don't have, they're actually, it's not that bad in the sense that you can skip over, this is our normal business and all the sort of day-to-day, it's really the extra projects they want to do each year.
Oh, okay.
So I think we're pretty comfortably embedded in the town, like, I did glance through, yes, they did say they're gonna do our lawns and our plowing, yes, we will get cleaners, so it's a lot of that sort of day-to-day stuff, we're comfortably in the budget. And of course, Sean is there, so if they sees us fall off, they're able to defend.
I said no to a lot of these studies and plans because where I come from is get done what you've taken on. And then
Yes.
we'll talk about more studies and plans.
Yeah, well, I did wonder, I mean, there's a governance study, I didn't know if that touched on us, there was a salary study, which I know.
Yeah,
The compensation review.
Yeah, the
Compensation review.
So that was up front, that was up in administration, and so the compensation review was something that I didn't wanna let go, not because it affects me, but it's because we spent a lot of time
Catching up.
working through a lot of that and providing staff with direction. So that's why I was okay to see that study done, because it's not just us, it encompasses.
And that's
a lot.
that's called a compensation review,
Yeah,
and that's proceeding in 2024.
yeah,
So that's something we need to,
but
In
do you
minutes.
have, I
And
wonder,
also-
like with the library, like, do you do your own compensation review?
no,
It's in the MOU,
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, also in the MOU is
Town
part
will
of,
include the library in the study.
okay, so that's good,
Page 30,
so.
page 32.
So I
Of the
inadvertently,
proposed budget, not the supplement.
No, not the supplement. Yeah, so those are, yeah, I agree, I've spent a lot of time looking at it.
I would, yeah, this focus is corporate administration, that's where it is.
I'm just thinking is going through that,
Yeah.
and now, of course, I'm not sure what things have carried forward. What's
Right.
published so far is just what was the original publication, right?
Yeah,
But are the things that we want to earmark, we say, if this is happening, we want to make sure we're involved in it, so we need to start tagging those things.
Yeah,
And,
it was on page 40, sorry, it was on
Okay.
page 43, it was the project called the Market and Pay Equity Compensation Review for non-union staff and council, we wanted to include ourselves. And in addition to that is, as well as the Committee of Adjustment.
Okay.
Because the Committee of Adjustments, their stipends or their, their rates have been stagnant for over a decade. And so it is important, not because my uncle's a member, but because as a whole, like that it has been
And there's
frozen
a
for a
long
very long time.
time.
So,
Yeah.
like, do you want me to, I can read it if you want, or did you wanna know more, or are you,
I think,
you're satisfied?
you know what, I'm satisfied for now,
Okay.
and it's a 2024 though, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Every 4 years and the second year term of council.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Mhm.
So we want to make sure that we are involved, but there's other things, we go through the budget, we want to, if there's anything referring to facilities. I know like the leisure activity study, where we're talking about the multi-use feasibility study. So the things that might touch on the library, I think we want to make sure we're aware of them early enough that we can be talking in our one-to-one meeting, saying this is of interest to us.
Yeah, and there are some specifics in operations of just making sure. I now can't remember what pages we're on, I'm just making sure that if there are things that, we assume we're still gonna be done, whether it was the completion of the windows, and, I mean, the tower is mentioned. Or maybe,
That's in
no,
the- yes,
maybe
in
that
one
was
of
in the
the
leader
reports
study,
coming
but
up,
yes,
yeah.
in one of them, just making sure that everything that we think is being addressed is in there. Or do we have to advocate to make sure that it stays in there? That's really important from a member
Isn't that related
perspective.
to whether we get expansion of our facility?
No,
or
this is
our
just with the
facility?
town, I mean, this is asset management, right? So this
Yeah.
is their physical
Well,
assets.
that was the
so-
windows.
Yeah, so if there are other, again, it's just to build on your point about just making sure that the things that we know need to be done don't accidentally get
Yeah,
done.
and that's in one of the reports, continuous improvement or risk assessment, in other words, it'll come up later on the agenda.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we're-
yeah, and that's fine. And I mean, I was looking at the communications and the economic development section, there's just from a strategic and alignment and how the library supports. Either can work with communications, and this was something that Paula brought up was how do we leverage each other's communications and, is there more work or more opportunity for the town to make residents aware of what's going on at the library and the library messages through the town's communication? So that's sort of, that was one thing. And then there are a number of things in economic development that are just more, as we think through the plan, where, you know, how can we make sure that we're supporting the growth and some of their
So
activities?
the answer to
Yeah.
Paul is, yeah, whatever, is that there, in order to facilitate that with columns, is to give them their budget and not chop the budget down to nothing, which they've done year over year over year, except for this year, where afterwards, Mr. Henry was like, thank you. I was like, well, you can't get the job, if you don't have the budget, you can't get the job done. So now they've got room, they've got flexibility. You've had a conversation, hopefully.
Not
No,
with Tim
formally, yeah.
directly formally, but with other people. And then I know there's also, I think should the arts walk happen again this summer, that'll be kind of the first major project where we
You
can
can
really work
collaborate.
on that
Yeah.
relationship and collaborate.
So,
No, good.
So Joanne,
Mhm.
can I ask you, since you've obviously done a lot of work in the budget already?
I became very geeky over it, yes.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful, because someone has to be.
Yeah.
And since you are obviously
Absolutely.
interested in doing some
Mhm.
work, would you be able to bring forward to our February meeting the items that you think we need to be paying
Sure.
attention to?
Yep, sure.
That would be great, because then we can build into our action plan for 2024, things we need to work on, and even maybe a beginning checklist of what might be happening in 2025.
Right, okay, yeah.
And it also begs the question, are there things, when they do the public meeting, when you guys do the public meeting, are there places where we want to be able to stand up and say, if you thought about the library for this?
absolutely.
Hmm.
That's the point, that's the time in which to put that forward. Because that's where, you know, the compensation review, you know, I'll ask, I mean, I would hope that the library is included in that, right? And I know sometimes they're kind of they're overarching, like it would probably get pretty long to list every single department that's gonna be part of it, but
Yeah,
and that's where whatever your budget is, Jennifer, I don't know what it is. I don't see, your budget is not included in this
No,
300-page bundle of fun, but that's where the compensation review will probably inherently adjust your compensation part, which would drive, which will then drive, well, yes, we get 6%, but we're gonna need 6.1 moving forward, right?
Right.
Because of growth and cost of living. And so it's just something to put on just kind of tuck in there, because you gotta be out ahead of it and not have to come back and say, well, actually, this 6% isn't working for me anymore, or us. Just a thought. Yes, yeah.
And I see on page 87, under the fire, that there is begin preparation for new Station 2 in Craiglee. So
Yeah.
that goes back to
Our pitch, yeah.
our pitch to maybe be
Link.
or built side by side, or,
Yeah.
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 Well, I don't know how advantageous it would be to rewrite the side fire hall.
With a bunch of books. Although that's probably the safest place.
Yeah, but it might be a little bit noisy.
Yeah, true.
firefighter story time.
That's-
Love that.
Love it, yeah.
I need to plan
Be
your
careful, like when you're looking
the
at
other one,
drive.
the other item that comes up, what in my mind was is the DC development charges, and there's an
Yes.
update coming forward in April to the council.
The DC update actually was Tuesday. I can send you a copy of the report.
Yeah, that would be great, because I'm not sure how, Sabrina was always on top of that, so I'm not really sure where the library is in it, but I'm pretty,
It's there.
yes, yeah.
Yep, and it shows the projected growth and contributions to go into the library, reserve, into the DC reserve
Oh, okay.
that's earmarked for the library. I can't remember what it is right now, I have to, anyway,
Yeah,
I
if
can
you could
send it,
send
I
that,
can circulate it. It's part of the mandatory, it's our, I think it's last was 5 years ago, this is our development charges review,
Yes. yeah,
right? So
Yeah,
there's a lot in there, but that's what we have a consultant for, you know?
mm-hmm,
And yeah, the library is definitely on there. Yeah.
okay. Now, the public meeting on the budget, do you know, is that a date
It's-
published already?
That'll be Tuesday of, like, the last Tuesday of January.
March 12th, it says.
Oh, for the public meeting for the budget?
Yeah,
There was
public
another,
information center and public meeting for the 2024 draft budget.
Oh, okay,
there was another one
Actually,
in
no, I think
January
there's
though.
one sooner,
There's-
yeah. There's
I
one
thought
sooner
I
because.
saw one advertised too.
Yeah, I think it's the last Tuesday this month, because we just put together a draft budget, and then we want to take comments. And then we'll open the draft budget again, make any adjustments if we want to make.
Why wouldn't they put it on the website?
It was published at some
Yeah,
point. I just
somewhere
didn't
over
see it.
here.
They want you to miss the boat.
Oh, maybe, you're right, okay, so, oh, great, yeah, we just made it. Because of I should have been a lumberjack, I chopped so much out of these plans and studies that will vastly change the whole layout of the budget, so they've got to go through and
Oh,
remove the things that we told them to remove and defer, and blah, 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 blah. So it's quite a bit of work, and plus two, there was a lot of spelling errors and poorly
Yeah.
labeled sections.
so it's gonna be posted February 7th.
Yeah, and then there'll be a public hearing.
Oh, so it's gonna be posted February 7th, so that might be nicely timed, because our meeting is February 15th. So that would be a chance to look over the the latest iteration of the
Yeah.
budget. Okay. And then, so then we would have a chance to discuss at our committee of the whole on February 15th, as we're doing our action plan, and then maybe identify things where we want to be speaking
Mhm.
to our involvement. And is there another public meeting up to that?
No. Just
Public
says,
informations, oh, that's the 12th.
and then it goes back, they,
March 12th,
I guess
okay.
they take the findings back March 18th, and then,
So there is a public meeting, there's March 12th, Public Information Center
Yeah.
and public meeting for the draft. So we can maybe look at who might be able to attend the March. I'll be skiing in the Dolomites, won't be me. Sorry.
Just throwing that out there.
where are the Dolomites?
Italy.
Italy, oh,
Northern
nice.
Italy, yeah.
All the way around.
I'm not going anywhere this year.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So that sounds very good. So we're talking, so I want you to capture this, so I don't have to write it down. So we are meeting on February 15th to
Yeah.
do a committee of the whole to work on our action plan. On February 7th, slow down, the town budget will be posted, what survived the initial round through council. And gives us time to all have a look at it. But Joanne is going to be highlighting the ones that, as our eager beaver on this topic.
Actually, maybe what I'll plan to do is circulate it, and then if anybody has time to look through and they can add to it, and then we'll have.
Circulate what you are working on.
Yeah.
Yes,
before the meeting,
excellent.
And then we'll, yeah.
Yeah, so that we receive your Calder report prior to our meeting, give us a chance to think about it.
And then could we go to the public meeting and
And
offer
say,
comments?
bingo.
Yes, on March 12th. And they haven't put the time there, but I assume it's not all
9:30.
day. What?
9:30 is when the public meeting starts.
So then the intent is to attend the
Oh, really?
March 12th
Yeah.
public meeting for the budget, to make sure the library interests or needs are represented. So that will also be a topic on the February agenda. So when you and I get together to plan that agenda, you'll have those notes, so I don't forget. You have to remember, this head's a bit hollow at times. Okay, that's a bigger discussion than I thought we would have, but that was our discussion around the joint meeting, so that, I think that was excellent, thank you. Anything else on that topic before we move on? Okay, so now we're moving on to F3, organizational excellence. And the first item is the social return on investment, otherwise known as VOLT, Valuing Ontario's Libraries Template, I think that stands for. And I asked Jen if she could tell me the process the staff is taking on, so we can see, have an idea of timing and steps, And when, what role when we would come into it?
So we have started the statistic piece. And it's timing, it's nice because I'm also working on the annual survey, and a lot of these statistics we report to the province are actually included in this template that does all of the calculations for us. We're not finished, so I don't have a great idea of what the data is going to be telling us just yet. But timing wise, it may make sense to present the Volt at the same time that the annual review or the year in review for 2023 is presented. So from a board level, the presentation to council, it could either happen at the same time or it could be two separate, but they're very related. The data is related, the message is related, so I'm still sort of working my head around that, but timing wise, March or April, I think, is a fair timeline for the data to be presented to the board first, and then to go to council after. So I'm thinking March, April. Okay.
But we had said February, I thought, didn't we? To them,
No, we said,
in the new
we said in the
year?
new year. We didn't give a date because we weren't sure how much, and because
Okay.
we knew we needed to get all of
Yeah.
all of our data in. So I think March is fine,
It's a lot
at this
of
point.
the collecting the statistics, that part isn't that time consuming, but making sense of the data and putting together the presentation and the graphics, and
Mhm.
that's what's going to take
Yeah.
the most time, I think.
However, we spent a long time trying to figure out like how to present data, so assuming that it, as you say, much of it's the same, I think we've got a bit of a head start in terms of what we think is important,
Mhm. Yeah, it's
in
true.
terms of
That's
metrics, right? You know, like we had visits per, like, you know,
Yeah,
visits per population and,
we do, yeah, we have
Cards
that. Are you
versus-
thinking about the year-end review or because we didn't, I mean, obviously, we didn't have any of the SROI information.
no, but
Just
if,
how to- how
if
to
there's
present.
similarities and overlap, then, have you seen the presentation do you have the deck?
Yes, from November?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be many new charts that we wanna present that pull out the impact or the
Mhm.
return, but,
So that DC study might actually help quite a bit for the trend, to bolster the trend, right? Because that's what they calculated and studied was the growth, and this is why this is gonna cost so much.
oh, did they?
Oh, yeah, I'll circulate it to the whole group.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah, that'd be
great,
great,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it is a matter, it's public information, because it was at an open meeting, so, yeah, I'll circulate it to the whole group.
Great, okay, thank you.
But sorry, you're thinking, are you more worried about when we present and trying to get in front of council earlier, or?
Well, they're probably not really even gonna be ready if they're doing the budget, right?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
I think that's a yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, it should be in our favor to present it before the final budget.
Yeah.
If there is any need, if there's considerations for us in the budget, but at the end of the day, it's,
Well, we
you
won't
know,
be
we have the
asking for more than
information.
the 6%
no.
this year,
It would just
right?
it would just be a heads up.
I was just trying to say,
Yeah.
just start formulating for the
Next
next
year.
budget.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
budget is for how long? Until,
This supplements for next year.
you mean you gotta go through this 3-month process every year?
This.
Yeah, but this would be the first amount of work, wouldn't it?
This is the first round, and then
Yeah.
there's like 2 more.
But it's an annual.
Right,
an
it
annual.
should be
It's annual,
easier,
Yeah.
because this is a new council, right?
This was much easier for me this year, because I was
Yeah.
not afraid of it at all. But last year it was like, oh my God. what is all this,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
such
When that lands
big
on your
numbers.
doorstep. You know, when that landed on your doorstep,
You
it
ready to-
thumped, like what?
Yeah, I've got a funny anecdote that I won't say whenever the recording's on, I'll tell you after, with my first budget book that I took home.
If we're still wanting to have expansion of services, however.
We are.
Then shouldn't that be reflected in our hope for the budget, either this year or next year?
Definitely next
It's
year.
something that you've got to get on the queue for the next.
Yeah,
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
that kind of
That's
discussion
why
something
that's why we had the original joint meeting with council in
Yeah.
June, is to try to get into that document.
And that didn't work, so.
No. So
Okay.
now
So why
we're-
don't we tentatively see if we can get in front of council, so March 12th is the public input. You're not gonna be done the budget, so at like first week of April?
The final budget approval is scheduled for April 2nd.
Yeah, so you
So it
want,
really would be after that, I think that
We
we
wanna get
would,
after that, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't, but I
But
think when
not
it
too
comes
far after
to,
that.
yeah, so I think the timeline, Jen, you're suggesting, especially if we could hit March, would be helpful.
Mhm.
But even so, what, we had a conversation about this earlier, and this is the first time with the toolkit.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure, I've asked Jen to be sure, when you get the numbers, that they make sense. You know, that you step back and say, okay, this thing is what it calculated, but I don't think that a multiplier of 100 makes sense for a yoga class, or, you know, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
You know, so.
Well, because we might be questioned about some of that too.
We have to understand it, yeah, exactly. And so when it comes back to the board, part of what I'm thinking is we would take a look at, because it comes in sections like education, culture, whatever it is, and say, do we want to present these individually? 'Cause we have 10-minute deputations, we could do a monthly deputation on education and culture and this and that,
Oh,
for like
that's
9
interesting.
sections or
Yeah,
something. So
yeah.
we're there purely for information.
Mhm.
And, you know, the numbers we're presenting, we had time to dig in and say, okay, if we get challenged, we'll have an understanding of where this number comes from and why it makes sense.
Right.
And then, of course, the bottom line is, because everyone's always looking for, what's the dollar figure, right? You know, is it
Yeah,
$5? Is
yeah,
it 12, is it 18? And so we
yeah.
have to be able to say, yeah, that ROI, that number is a meaningful number.
Yeah.
And, you know, bigger isn't necessarily better, because bigger starts to become unbelievable. You know, so it's very contextual, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I guess I'm thinking it should be double pronged though too. We're making these pitches to council, but I also think we have to have staff on board with us too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. None of these things are done at council, generally at all of them. It's only if we're having individual meeting with counselors
Yeah.
that we would be one-to-one. Yeah,
Do you mean the staff working here?
I mean, the town staff.
Okay.
Because they could put in a monkey wrench at any time, because I think they're listened to more than we are at times.
Yeah. Yeah, but staff here too need to be.
Well,
I
that's a
think,
different question, but.
yeah, it's not linked
well, I
necessarily
think,
to the
again,
town, but.
yeah, because it's the first year, and we're all getting our head around it, you know,
And it's gonna be updated because.
And it'll be
guarantee
updated, but
you
I
it's-
think, but
there's gonna
again,
be
so we've only
glitches.
introduced the idea of this
Yeah.
social return on investment and how to look at the numbers in this way and the impacts sort of, and how, you know, how a municipality, a town should be looking at this. It's, you know, I do, yes, we need to take time to make sure we all understand it, but also let's be fair to council, to staff, to everybody. They also have to wrap their heads around something that, I mean, I've been working with companies trying to push this for years. Especially if you're a not-for-profit, it's very hard for people to believe it. So I think this is, you know, this is the opportunity of providing the information, and I do like the idea of the single, sort of the sections at a time. But if this isn't gonna be like the holy grail of,
No,
look
and
at
there's,
this, you know?
there's so much math in here, like.
Yeah.
Like I was astounded. I mean, I was very impressed, but they seem to have a really good process, but you know, there'll be a lot of questions like,
Yeah.
you know, how can you say that? And these folks have an answer, right? Because they basically structured it to avoid overestimating,
Yeah.
but we're gonna get a lot of questions like that. How
Yeah,
can you
yeah.
say that this is worth that? You know, it's not real money. Well,
The
yes, it
other-
is.
yeah, the other
It
thing,
could be.
actually, your question, Chris, made me think of, is where else might we want to present these findings? You know, do we want to go to BMRA? Do we want to go, you know, to our
Yeah.
Probus groups? Do we want, you know, how do we get out to the
That's
community?
interesting. That's
As
it.
well
Yeah,
as,
yeah.
other the influencers in
It's
the
called
community.
educating all our potential allies or
Yeah,
stakeholders.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we need a
It's a
lot
great
of people
idea.
to support us personally.
Yeah.
Or at least the more we can have supporting us, the better our
Yeah.
likelihood of getting what we're looking for.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of fun ways we can educate the community. I've been thinking about that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Even just with bookmarks and infographics,
Mm.
beyond, like, I know in person
Yeah.
Mhm.
matters, but there's other fun things we can do to present the data,
Yeah.
pending who
Yeah.
the audience is, right?
Yeah. Well, I think there's staff also sit on different groups in town, right? So
Yeah.
because that would be a place where, you know, we're already connected.
BDO and,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think the
And Chamber of
findings would be
Commerce.
very meaningful to staff in a different way too, especially when you can finally put a value on all of the things that are overlooked, like those impact stories, like in my 10 years working in libraries, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just something
you're
you have to
invisible.
constantly be
Yeah,
justifying to
invisible, right.
people, but you don't really, to have an actual number, I think it'll be really impactful internally
Yeah.
to staff too.
It's more than a number though, but I think as examples, stories are really impactful. So
Definitely,
if we can have an example that speaks as a story, it's
yeah,
a lot more impact. That's what newspapers do all the time.
yeah,
And so you need both. You need the stat to justify it, but then you need the story to have
Yes.
people understand it.
yes. One of the things that we're doing right now in preparation for the annual report or year in review is collecting actual comments from patrons, whether it's, and you don't necessarily have to put a real name to the comment, even though that's kind of nice, but whether it's comments throughout last year that were on social media, whether it's, you know, Ashley's reoccurring, the people that she helps with tech help, like she has pages and pages of people who are willing to submit how that service has impacted their
Feedback.
life.
It's all about
And
feedback.
yes,
Mhm.
and what we've received so far is pretty powerful too, so.
you should
we're looking
get some
forward to that.
quotes from the seniors fitness.
Yes, that's a good idea.
I could give you one, but that might look a little suspicious.
So could I.
But,
But it might look fishy, yes.
we'll get maybe Peggy to, you know, to
Yeah.
write a comment. She's a
Or
nurse. and-
Bruce.
Or Bruce, yeah,
There's many very educated, well, even Pat, right?
yeah, there's lots of people
Very
that are,
educated people there, so,
you know.
but
But there's also those people that are quite frail that are really, I think, benefiting from
Yeah.
having this,
you
so
know,
it's
like
not
that lady
just,
that sits in the chair, yeah.
yeah,
The, having the names though gives it validity,
It does.
so you don't have to always say the name, but you could say that we've got names of all these where these comments came from. I know, because I used to work with some of this before.
We sometimes see, you know, that, you know, LG or Lori G or something, you know, so it's a,
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
kind of have to balance the privacy part of it, but
and,
Does
you know,
any
the
mission-
review, the Blue Mountains Review, I'm sure they'd publish something for us too, you know?
Yes, they would. If you want any stories to get out or
Yeah,
to gain community support, yeah, because everybody reads that. They may not read a bookmark.
But everybody reads the review.
Or you could always submit something to Colleen today too.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
Cause that stuff is,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
newsworthy, yeah, for sure, right?
and it gets read by a lot of people,
Mhm.
okay,
partly because it's short and sweet.
yeah.
If you want his contact, I'm happy to give it to you.
Is that the guy that comes to the council meeting?
I think it's the same, is it Chris?
Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, you worked with him, or well, you, yeah,
Mhm.
In Rio Islands.
cross paths and.
Okay. Anything else on social return on investment for today?
So when do you expect you'll have a draft that we can dig into?
Just the data?
Just data or her report,
Well,
her
what would,
analysis
yeah, I
of it?
guess, yeah, I
I
guess.
think the
Depends on,
analysis,
how much would the data tell us? Or would it just be numbers so we wouldn't understand their context?
Well, there, I can
Well, I
actually
think
show
we'd
you what we're
understand,
working with.
yeah.
Okay.
So the Excel template that they've put together, breaks everything, like it explains what the numbers
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
So if, once this is complete, if, like, I think sharing the actual data, it'll be meaningful because it
Yeah.
explains it in the document.
because we had to, like, we went through this, right, when we were, well, you dove into it a bit more, I think, but,
Different data, yeah.
but we,
Yeah, yeah.
you don't need to have prepared, I guess what I'm trying to say is, why don't you just get the data in there, and then maybe some of us could meet with you to try to interpret it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also because the sooner we can.
Wrap our
I'm
heads
still-
around it, yeah.
I'll admit, I take 4 or 5 times reading something before finally the light goes on. So the sooner I get something, the sooner I can get in.
It
and-
doesn't need to be
and, like,
perfect, I think,
eventually,
yeah.
the light goes on, because there is a lot, and, yeah, so when you're comfortable that the information is.
The data that's
that
in
the
it is
data
accurate.
there, yeah.
The data part would be finished in February.
So for the February planning meeting, we could have, or whatever we call it, you would have the SOR data available.
February 15th, you mean?
Yeah,
So is that, are we
think that's
replacing the
doable.
board meeting with the committee of the whole? Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense.
So now that has the action planning, we've got the TBM budget review, now the SORI. So plan on a,
A full
Nice
day.
full day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please book the whole day, yeah.
well, that's a good question. Should we plan?
I can't
to-
do the whole day
Okay.
because I've got my granddaughter and my daughter is taking off. And I said, you have to be back before 1. So if we could find another day, then I could do the whole day, like if we did the next day, that would put less pressure on. But I won't tell her that, or otherwise I'll have another night with the 3-year-old.
What day was that again?
We
sorry?
were looking for an
It's on the
alternate to
15th,
February
So
15th.
either, so.
The 16th is an option you're thinking? Is that what you're suggesting? The Friday?
Well, my daughter's leaving on the Saturday, so maybe the Monday or
14th,
something.
With the 14th, oh,
Not
No, she-
earlier, later.
Yeah, I mean, I can do the half day, because I've told her you need to be back, I'm going, but I think to take a day off, I'd prefer, if I was gonna do a whole day, I'd prefer it to be.
well, the
following
19th is
week.
family day.
Yeah, it's family days.
Oh, yeah,
The following day.
huh?
Well, just the,
Family doesn't matter,
Um,
but staff are off.
Well, here's another thought.
Or we do the
Um,
half day and then we plan another half day?
Well, I was gonna even say, do we do the half day on the afternoon of the 15th and maybe another half day in the morning of the Friday? Does that work? Does that help you at
16th.
all?
Sure.
And then maybe our brains don't get quite as fried because we're not working at it the whole day.
Yeah,
Does that work for
does that work? Works for me.
everybody? Does everyone can do the
Morning of
16th in the morning?
15th and 16th, then?
So sort of, can we suggest something like 1 to 5 on the 15th and 10 to,
I'll just make sure the boardroom's available too.
what kind of time on the Friday?
9:30?
9:30 to 1 or something?
Sure.
Okay,
What was the time for the 16th? 1 to.
9:30 to 1.
or could we do 10 to 1? Cause that's long. Can we do 10 to 1?
Sure, yeah. And is the boardroom available?
Yes.
Okay.
As I was typing, Fran said boardroom is available. And yes, okay, perfect.
Okay, that's
Good.
great. Okay,
I will provide lunch on one of those days. Which day, the first one or the second?
Let's make it the first one.
So 15th is supposed to start in the
Well-
morning?
No,
No.
I'm gonna be coming in and I'm
the
gonna guess I
15th from
might
1 to
be,
5,
Yeah.
and the 16th from 10 to 1.
I may be a bit, she's coming from Windsor, so she's going to visit a friend. She wants to, so I
And you
am,
might be a bit late that day.
I could be, but that's all right. I'll let you know. I've said I have a meeting at 1, so
can we bring your vision
you know
granddaughter?
how well it works.
I know, bring your granddaughter
Jeez,
here, we
Grand's
can all
works
entertain her, she can read, we can bring her books.
3-year-old?
3-year-old?
I don't know.
Okay.
Do we need lunch one of those days? Is that?
I don't know if
or-
we need
I
it.
don't think we, yeah.
No?
Yeah, we'll pay Sean back some other time. Many of you may, like me, did you come? for
Yeah.
dinner? Oh, okay.
That's all right. I just went home and had soup.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so the next item is the board appointment. So where we're at, we have received the letters of application. I believe we've notified them that they'll be contacted about interviews.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and so what we need to do is to, and the other thing that we've already done is we've pulled out the questions that actually Sabrina had developed for interviews for all of us last year, which did not happen
Oh,
because
okay.
we ended up, that's what you saw. So didn't have to do because we were kind of a right number.
Disappointed.
Yeah, so that is available somewhere in SharePoint. And Julie and I both had a chance to go over them, and I edited one of the questions that had to do with committees and had shifted it to,
No, I didn't look at them yet.
oh, okay. Anyway, so the idea is that we do have some questions laid out and an evaluation rubric that we would, first thing the committee would do then is take a look at that, say whether that works. And so we'd be looking for people who'd be interested in participating in the interviews, and then you have to obviously read the applications, look at the questions. We'd have to have a meeting to make sure we're okay with the questions, and then conduct the interviews. So who might be interested in doing
I'll
that?
be interested.
Mhm.
I don't mind.
Okay,
Well, I've been thinking that I may have a potential conflict in that I know one of the candidates, so should I?
I think I do too. Well, I know I do. If that's an issue, you know.
Wonder if Marie would wanna do it then? I know
I
last
know.
time she was interested when we,
I mean, I think I can put I can just acknowledge that I know one. I mean, she's not a best friend or anything, so she's not a
so would we
social.
do all 3 at one sitting? right?
Yeah.
I think it's reasonable, we're a small community, we all kind of end up knowing each other
Okay.
So I would
anyways.
just
I don't think that's a real conflict.
declare.
Okay,
Yeah, conflict only ever really comes if they're like a direct lineage family member, that's the only time that you really,
and as long as I acknowledged if I was.
you acknowledge that you've met.
If
before.
I was pushing for, if I thought the person I knew was the best candidate, I would just say, you know, be aware that I know this woman, so
Mhm.
I may be, yeah,
You're not breaking any rules, it's a small community, at the end of the day, it is.
yeah.
Kind of hard not to know.
Right, it's hard not to know, and if you didn't, then that's too
Do you want
far.
us 3 to do
that'd be fine with me.
Sure.
Okay, so let's have a motion that the board appoint, and it's going to say the names will be Julia Scott, Joanne DeViser, and Chris Wickman to conduct interviews with eligible applicants and draft a report as a report to council, subject to board approval.
I'll move that.
Okay, so we have Sean and, well, I can second.
And Jen, should we have, are you?
Oh, yeah, well, Jen would automatically be on it.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
well, we should maybe, let's put that in the minutes as well, for sure, to be clear.
So are we looking for one or two candidates?
That's a very good question, because, what happened last time when we had a vacancy midterm is we had, two excellent candidates, and at the end of the day, we thought, why don't we just recommend both? And then we also thought that would future-proof us from somebody else having to resign and then having to go through the process again.
Yeah,
And so so that remains an option, shall we say?
Because we're
good.
not at max in terms of our committee, or is there even a max?
Yeah, it's nine, sliding scale, right? I think.
There is.
I
there's
think our bylaws
restrictions
just,
there.
there's no maximum in Public Libraries Act, and I think our bylaws just cite the
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, in the past, the maximum on the library board has been 9. But I think it can be anywhere within a range, but I can't remember what we last said to council in terms of what we saw our maximum.
I thought there was mention of the sliding scale, so 7 or 9, or that
I
kind of
think it
odd
would-
number,
I think it would be great to have one extra because there's going to be a lot of work. Once the RFP gets going and we get
Mhm.
involved and,
And as we've seen with different, as people get traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It allows.
should we
Okay.
pick a day?
Okay, well,
Yeah,
we have a
okay.
motion on the table, so why don't we just vote on that?
Okay,
So all in
okay.
favor? Okay, that is carried. And then in terms of, process, then the questions are on SharePoint, so that we just have to make sure where
Do you
they
mind
are.
sending the link?
I will, because right now I think they're just in the chair planning.
Are they just, okay,
I love that you send the links and we don't have to go hunting.
I agree.
Oh, thank you.
We would be like, which,
I kept following up to Sabrina's emails, here's the link, here's, because I know, because if it's not in an email, I'll forget.
Thank
And then,
you.
yes, it's a small thing, but it's big.
maybe you
It's
can
big.
set a folder
I was,
for-
yeah, I was going to suggest that, I will do that, I'll create a separate folder for.
have we, do we need to interview all 3? Like, you've reviewed them, the resumes? Are they all 3 qualified?
They're very strong applications.
Okay, so then we should interview all 3 then,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think they even come forward if they didn't qualify, i.e. by residency, but they have basic requirements, right? And that's all that's required.
There is something, I think, in the questions just to confirm that. I can't remember now, like I guess we probably don't have to ask if they're 18, which is fairly evident, but a resident and that kind of thing.
But does any of them
Um,
say in their little projects at the end that they're like a member of Moms for Liberties or something?
I
I'd like to
believe
know
I was
that.
only
But
sent
remaining
cover
open
letters.
to all qualifications.
I think that's
and
all they submitted, because it was, they could
Yeah.
determine whether they would
Just
send a
remaining
resume or
open
not.
to-
You could double check that, but I
I
think
will.
you
Like,
probably
they have
have
to
I'm just
support our
saying,
vision.
everything.
I was gonna say, it's important.
They have to support our
That we
vision,
don't come in
right?
with preconceived notions of.
That will come through in the questions, right?
There you go,
Yeah.
and so one of the things you have to do
Yeah.
is I think maybe use a threesome,
Look at
meet
the
and look at questions
yeah.
again, make sure
Yeah.
you're comfortable with that and the rubric for evaluation.
Yeah.
And then find yourself a couple of dates, because you also then have to find the dates that these
Mhm.
candidates
Mhm.
are available.
Are you away at all?
I'm away in April, but we should have them on board before then.
Yeah, and you?
I'm away February 10th through, hang on, just on that weekend.
Well, that week's not great for me because I have my daughter and granddaughter anyway, so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so anyway, other than February 8th and,
Okay, so we'll put our head
Well,
together and.
yeah.
In February? Or
No, I think we should
in
meet
the end of
soon
January?
Yeah.
Oh, we can meet, yeah,
to look at
to
the,
look at dates
Yeah.
or when we can invite.
and
you.
look at the questions, just, I'll take a look at them too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
She sends me.
The other
So are
thing-
the questions on SharePoint?
Yeah.
I'll create a
Oh,
separate
yeah.
folder though, they're on there, but it's in, you wouldn't find them,
No,
so
I-
I'll make it more accessible. I also will be at library conference next week.
I'm just gonna say-
I'll be here on Monday. And then if I have to be here on Tuesday, I can, but I'll probably leave a bit early so I can get down to Toronto.
Well, we can go over the questions. Have you looked at the questions? Did you
Yes.
like them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we just look at the questions, wrap our head around, come up with some dates, and then when you're back, we can or maybe today we can pick some dates that,
Yeah, I
Good
didn't
work.
bring my phone unfortunately.
Okay.
And I mean, even while I'm at conference, I can always send out, like, I can connect with the candidates and send out proposed dates for interviews.
Yeah, I think the sooner we get the dates out, then
Yeah,
okay.
some are very eager too.
Can you, find the report that we wrote to council? This would be the second year of the first, of last term. So that would be something like 2019, probably. We wrote a report to council with the recommendation. So there was some way, I forget, because we had, because this council makes the appointment, right? So we're then sending to council, our, here are the candidate or candidates, that we're recommending. And I forget what type of information we put in that. But that report should tell us.
Okay,
So it
Great,
should
then
come
I-
from us as
Start.
opposed from the town clerk or whoever forwarded this
It
time.
it would
right?
it would be a report from the board to council
Yeah.
with our process, but then our recommendation.
And that goes to a closed session first anyways.
Yeah, so that report would have to come in to board itself,
Mhm.
March 21st.
oh, that's so long.
Well, that's true, or we could maybe,
Is this something we can agree by, do we?
Yes, we could do it,
we
you
need
could
an
do an
equal
equal.
meeting? Can we do-
So you could
yeah.
always send out the draft report, and we could do any comments on the draft report, and then a final could come up to people and say, it's a yay or nay vote.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, because we
Yeah,
ideally, could
yeah.
we get it to council in February? When is the council meeting in February again? Is it the 5th? Because that's too tight.
The 5th and 6th is committee of the whole, so it would have to go to a closed session anyways, first, like you're gonna put forward these people's names, that has to go to a closed session first. And then whatever the recommendation is by the board, that's when it gets considered.
So when is
Not
the
that it should be
next,
a problem, but
when is the
The
next
next-
closed? When,
They'll have to
we
create don't
don't,
a
know.
session.
They just create them.
Based,
oh,
based on need, right?
Yeah.
They won't always have a need.
oh, okay,
So would they have, the closed session will be part of another meeting, though, won't it?
Sometimes they make a special, it's called a special meeting, where it's a closed session, like we open, to go there, we open, like we normally do in chambers, and then we make the motion, move it to closed. So then we all flip off our cameras and leave the chambers and go to the little boardroom, the committee room, it's fine, and then we hammer all that stuff out.
So for this, it would be like presenting one or two names.
Or 3 or whatever, and if the board wants to move to a number of, 9 members of the board, then great.
yeah, we would come back and say, we recommend this person or this person, I don't think we'd recommend 3.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
whatever it is, the
But whatever our
recommendation,
yeah.
recommendations are.
whatever the recommendation is, then we move forward.
Okay, so if we, I'm just thinking out loud, if we try to get the interviews done by the,
End of the month.
Here,
It's only 2 more
possibly,
weeks.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we could, yeah,
so then we're looking at the week of the 29th.
yeah.
Mhm.
Of January for
Yeah.
interviews. And you could, you could use Saturdays and stuff, if we've got people who are working, I don't know what it is, but.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
Yeah. And then the way, I don't know if you read the bylaws, you probably read them, but remember the whole question of the e-vote is that we can run an e-vote to get things done, but you can't ask questions about it, right? So all the questions have to have been done earlier somehow, so we'll be looking at the draft report and then any feedback and stuff, and then when the final report comes out, it's just a yea or nay, and then after that, I guess we send it to council.
Yeah.
And you may want to put it over your name as vice chair who chaired the committee.
sure. So the questions would probably only come from either you or Marie, because you won't have been on the
Yeah, that's true.
committee, so we could have a phone call if we needed to.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Just pick up the phone.
What?
Yeah.
That old
Yeah,
fashioned.
you say, I know that person and they're terrible or they're great. Yeah.
You can do Zoom too, if you really want.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so let's try to get this
Okay.
scheduled. Okay, maybe we could even give you some dates when we're done our live stream. We could
Yeah.
do that. Okay.
That'd be good.
Okay, got all the questions covered here. Okay, I think that's it. We're done on that topic. Okay, the next one on the agenda is the severe weather events. And I would like to defer that to a later discussion. Because when we saw that there was some overlap between the inclement weather policy in human resources and this other policy, that doesn't really work for me, because then you have to remember to change wording in two places that are identical and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So I was suggesting to Jen that maybe she needs to either move the severe weather into human resources or pull related HR into severe weather. I'm not really sure why one is HR and one is system, but that's really just detail, but I just didn't think it was worth trying to figure that out between 2 days ago than now. And I did ask whether there's a rush for this, and she didn't feel there was, so we may as well wait and do it with our overall policy review.
Well, I'm sure they have a way of handling it even now, so,
Yes,
We do, yeah.
because we
Mhm.
had some severe weather, but.
Yeah, well, I think it was maybe my first week without Sabrina, we had to close because of the power.
Mhm.
So I went into that policy and it was, yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
So on that point, if I may, on that point, because I know where the generator that's supposed to be in this building is on a trailer in the fire hall. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
So FYI, so, but more to the point though, I'm gonna push to our building, fleet facilities manager, Phil, that be permanently located here, because this library, the library is the
Is designated.
emergency center, right? It's one of the
Yes.
emergency centers, if there's,
Yeah,
because if you don't see in the budget, the fire department was put in for a generator for the community center. So to me, there no longer requires there be a trailer generator, right?
Fire department.
Because that's why they were just trying to utilize it, because with the community center, it's the arena, like, if the power's out for an extended time, it's a big, like, it's the ice surface is a big asset, right? And for it to get, anyway, so long
Yeah.
story short, the power needs to stay. And so as a balancing effort, they put it on a trailer and then they just take it back and forth, but I don't think it's ever, I don't know how often it's been used here, but all the same,
Yeah.
now that that's in the budget, I wanna see that Phil executes that generator landing here.
well, that has been the plan, right? Because this is a designated.
And that's what happens
center.
with a lot of these, unfortunately, with a lot of these plans,
Mhm.
or these plans or studies, they fall off. And then nobody remembers, and then the longer you don't talk about it, the longer no one will remember about it, but I remember.
So does it need to be covered?
The generator, no,
No, they
No.
don't.
they sit outside the,
Yeah, okay.
So it's a full Generac.
the giant Generac generator, it's supposed to be able to power this building, probably power this building easily.
Mhm.
So anyway, FYI,
You're getting a generator. That's great.
Well, if
Okay,
it doesn't happen, for whatever reason, maybe, I mean, is there a way to make it a part of protocol? Because this is an emergency hub, that should there be, like, if there is an outage for more than 3 hours, like, that is automatically here, or, I mean, I like your solution much better that it's here.
well, it kind of.
Anyway, just back of my mind, it's like.
It kind of comes into the process where if it doesn't get done, then I drag it into the public forum, and then,
Okay, it's gonna get done.
yeah,
Okay.
and then, once it's if it gets drug out into public, onto the public format, then there's
some
direction.
urgency,
Yeah.
yeah.
It gets done, yeah.
Great.
Now,
Good, thank you.
that's quite the process though, right? They have to put a concrete pad, then they have to get the electric and the gas.
Well, they must have
Suppose the
had a way of
town has-
hooking it up now, because otherwise, why would you even have a generator if it's not capable
Yeah,
of being
it's
hooked
it's
up?
basically.
Oh, no,
it's
but
basically
I know,
like a
but it took for me, it took a long time to get them out to the house.
For your house, yeah, this one might even be a diesel generator, it might be,
Oh, okay.
so.
Ours
it's still-
doesn't have to be on a concrete pad either, so.
This size of Generac one probably needs to be on some kind of
Yeah.
stable ground, yeah, it's
Yeah.
big, right? But anyway, so, yeah,
Okay,
okay,
nice,
so now you know,
now you know.
Madam
And,
CEO, you have power.
I just want to apologize and go backwards when I was talking about the interviews. So you're okay with not being involved in the,
I would absolutely love
Interviews.
to not be involved in
Yeah.
conducting interviews, because I know there's nothing in the rules that says I can't, but I'm an
Yeah.
elected official, I don't think it would be right.
There
if
might be
I-
a conflict
yeah, that's what I
too,
was
because you get to
assuming, but I
appoint-
should have
It's not,
asked.
yeah, it's not, I don't know the conflict, it's just optics, and I'd rather not.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay, we'll
Like-
handle it.
yeah. If anything, you know, if I was to be here, I'd maybe rather be called an observer, not a participant of the panel, because,
Or there to answer questions about the town
yeah,
interconnection or something.
yeah, but I mean, I'd rather just.
Okay.
My,
Okay,
my calendar,
that's what I was assuming, but I should have checked.
and not to sound facetious, but my calendar's rather
Cool.
full,
Oh.
so
Yes.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it's welcome.
You know, the family day thing, I was gonna say, no, I don't wanna spend family day on my couch in nothing but my house coat and plastic slippers. you know.
Okay.
There's a visual.
I don't wanna go out. I love my house coat and plastic slippers.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the Respectful Workplaces Compliance Report.
Yes.
We have received it, but this is the opportunity to have any discussions or ask any questions, or if there's anything, Jen, you want to point out. Let me point out that actually Sabrina wrote this, because she was writing, this is about 2023, so she drafted it in advance, so.
Yes, I'm
Just-
very
just-
grateful that she did
Well,
that for
and,
me.
yeah, you wouldn't have the context to do it anyway, so you may not be able to answer some of the questions, but you could at least prepare to address them in
I
another
was
meeting.
disappointed to see that there were community members who thought it was okay to scream at staff.
They do it all the time, they call, it's horrible, the call, right, they scream at you through the phone. They're lucky they don't call me with that.
Yeah.
The one thing I will highlight though, in reviewing this report is, there has been an extreme increase in violent incidents in public libraries, and this was happening before the pandemic, and it has only gotten worse. So to see, this is actually a very low number in comparison to what other public libraries, even in this area, are experiencing in
Really?
terms of aggressive behavior, violent incidents, that sort of
When you
thing.
say violent, what's that defined as?
So either like physically harming another person in the building, it is not necessarily specifically staff, but when you have public libraries that are, Collingwood, for instance, when you're more of a downtown hub, you're close to other social services, then you'll get, you know, a lot more vulnerable people that are using the facility,
Yeah.
and a lot more violent incidents do occur in addition to, you know, verbal harassment, that sort of thing, so. That was the only observation that I made, looking kind of
So
at the report.
we talked, when we had our planning day in the spring, we had our tour of the, yeah, we talked about the need to have staff, no staff there alone. Has that been implemented?
Yes,
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because that's a real risk nowadays.
Yeah.
the staff too, I believe, and this actually may have been identified in another report. Many of the staff have received advanced mental health training from CMHA. But at our health and safety committee level, we have been talking about getting everyone mental health first aid certified. So, I'm still getting quotes, and that might be a part of a larger conversation if we could partner with maybe the municipality or other libraries to get that certification.
So would that include like de-escalation?
Yes,
That
and
might
it,
be, sorry, that might be a really great thing to talk to, one of the gens or,
Yeah.
someone at HR, because that's like their.
right,
Or they might have a contact, just saying.
yeah. But yeah, it would be very valuable. It goes
Yeah.
beyond de-escalation too. There's an entire portion that educates you on even identifying if somebody is in mental crisis, or it's kind of like destigmatizing
Mhm.
as well, and then that also helps your interactions with specific people, so it's a really valuable certification to have.
It's a
Mhm.
great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, but, so this number 4, I forget what we heard last time we saw. So that you're
It is an
saying,
increase
It
from
is an
the
increase,
year
yeah.
before. I did read that in the report.
okay. And then there was something. Was it here or was it in the, oh, I think it's in the next one, and I did have a question about that, the one about the improvement.
Continue to
There's,
be.
yeah, it's the joint health and safety stuff.
Yeah, the health and safety, so that'll come next.
Okay, shall we move on to that report then? That's, anything else, any other questions on this one? Okay. So, and the next one is the continuous improvement report.
Yeah, so I wanted some more details on the major injury. I am assuming. Yeah, it was sort of vague, probably appropriately for the documents, but I wonder if we could know that. But the other thing is there's a lot of talking about the naloxone, but I wondered about training related to CPR. We have a,
Defibrillator?
yeah, and given the population here, I thought it might be something that should be addressed, like a refresher, if somebody had a cardiac arrest.
Basic
Basic
first aid.
CPR, and those AEDs are like, and you're panicking, how do you use them?
I believe all staff are first aid certified.
Okay,
I still need to look into how that's been done in the past though, because again, first aids can be pretty costly, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming we probably partnered with the municipality in the past. And then the municipality would have their own cycle of when they're recertifying people as well.
And that's an HR
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Because we also, sorry to cut in, but
That's
we
okay.
also have like the train the trainer thing, so a lot of the times it would be some members of our fire department that would put on emergency first aid courses.
Yeah.
And they do it throughout the community, right? It was a really great, this is pre-COVID,
Yeah,
but it was a really great
Yeah.
program, because who better? right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe too, there's always at least one person on staff in the building that does have their first aid
okay,
too.
yeah, it just seemed to be missing from the report. There was no like reference to it being current, or it could be an issue. I mean, I don't know, but I would assume that naloxone use would be less frequently needed in this community at this time than CPR.
Well, and how do
Like,
you
look at those-
assess it, to know whether it's, appropriate to utilize naloxone or not? Because it could be a drug overdose, but it might not be an opioid.
Even if you administer it though, and it's not an opioid overdose, it doesn't have any
Yeah, it's
effect, like
fine.
No,
negative
that's
effects.
true, but
But I'm more worried about.
still sticking a needle into somebody who's
The seniors
agitated.
type.
It's nasal spray now.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
there's no needle.
okay.
But it's, I think, there's also, I don't wanna say this with 100%, but there is legislation too for employers. It may not apply directly to the library because we're under 25 staff, but it's also important to have naloxone in case you have staff members who use opioids. And that's not something they necessarily have to disclose either. So it's,
Well, wasn't there also the discussion around staff being accidentally exposed?
Mhm.
oh, true.
So that was the
Yeah.
other, yeah,
That's a
I
good
mean,
point.
because in some situation,
Cause it happens to police officers too, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
They, they're
Mhm.
yeah,
searching people's pockets and then they touch it, then the officer can actually go into
Yeah,
distress.
lots of-
yeah,
lots of
but
scenarios,
I think, given the number of elderly folks here,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not infrequently somebody gets dizzy and has to sit down. So, what would happen if somebody collapsed? Peggy and I and maybe you would run over. before
Not
the-
me.
Denise, but,
So you're looking for confirmation that we
that we
have,
are well set up for if any cardiac event, any collapse occurred.
so in terms of
people-
training, that we have a staff, we have current CPR
Yeah,
training, and somebody is here at all times who's able to do that.
yeah,
And
Kinda
that
what
people
you're
are
getting?
clear what the emergency response techniques are for all
There's,
staff.
yeah, that report, it
And
was pretty detailed
volunteers.
around that.
Yeah,
yeah.
because this big injury, I don't know
Yeah,
what that
what was it?
was.
Was it?
So
climate-
was the resolution to call 911?
Yeah.
I have to look at the report again. Because if it was.
A major
I
injury
believe
of
it
a
was
patron.
staff. Oh, it was a patron.
Yeah, no, it wasn't staff.
Wasn't that in the joint health and safety one, the next report? I think you're in the wrong report.
Oh, am
The next report, you know, will be big, long.
yes, you're right.
Yeah, number 7.
And in this report too, I think it talked about certification, but I wasn't sure what certification you're really
It's,
referring to.
it's to be on a health and safety committee. It's like a general health and safety certification. We're not mandated to have it, but it,
Oh, you
It
mean
makes-
having the committee
Yeah.
gives you a certificate, okay,
um,
wasn't clear. I thought that each individual had to.
It's an HR thing.
Yeah, it just sounded like a major injury, and I don't recall ever talking about this last year, do you?
No, we never heard about it.
Yeah, so I just was, I mean, we don't need to have all the gory details, but was there anything that came out of that? It sounds like it was
Well, I just
discussed.
wonder, again, it's process, how is the incident reviewed? Like, how do you go about assessing it?
It says it was identified at a roundtable talk, this must have been before last
Yeah, but
year.
there's a structure you could be using, like root cause analysis.
As an
so
assessment.
in the incident reports we have, it covers all of that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's, I mean, I have to look at it again, but
Mhm.
it's structured very similarly to the Joint Health and Safety Committee's process. So it'll have, like, you have to identify how you could prevent something like that from
Yeah.
happening again.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the thing is, what people tend to do is they look always first at humans, what did you do wrong? Instead of looking at what else's system factors are that might help.
but this
support
sounds
them.
like somebody came in and passed out or something.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought too,
Yeah,
heart attack
Well,
type.
and we have on our board agenda a review of the health and safety policies annually. It's an
Okay.
obligation, and that is scheduled for May.
okay,
That's-
okay, so maybe,
Let it go
yeah,
till
it
then.
just, yeah, okay. But yeah, we weren't known, we weren't notified about this, and maybe it had nothing to do with us, because it was just a patron, but,
It was managed but it
Yeah.
seems to be, it's just calling out that recognizing there may be some skills or reminders that needed to
Yeah.
happen, and that table talk seemed to resolve.
Yeah, what learning or what
When to
preventive
call, when to
strategies
call
you
in
could put in.
assistance, yeah.
And if it's a patron, it's pretty hard to put preventive strategies, but.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, anything else on this report?
not for me, thank you.
Okay. Great. So that second report had a whole series of goals for 2024. And so we're being asked to endorse the organization's health and safety goals for 2024. That's at the very end of the
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, that was where I was wondering, where is the, oh no, isn't, naloxone's not mentioned here. So I guess we wouldn't need a specific,
So for example,
Yeah, it's
Jen, just go up a
page
little bit.
4.
no, but not in the continuous
Oh, no,
improvement
not too
goals.
far. To provide annual
On D?
training of health and safety committee
Yeah.
members and all staff pertaining to accident injury investigation. What does that annual training entail?
So I believe it would just be, the library's health and safety committee would just be reviewing that with staff at an all-staff meeting to just make sure everyone is still up to date on the process.
Of what to do if there's an injury?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
so
number
I
16.
was thinking maybe the words, I was thinking, so accident injury investigation, maybe it's more preventable accidents and injuries. It like, it's not just the investigation, we want to
Well, there's
prevent.
two parts to this, to me. There's the process of what you do in the case of an
After.
accident. And then there's the investigation of that, which
Yeah.
is by a core group of skilled people, which is not all staff. That's your health and safety committee members likely. So to me, it's two pieces of that. Because you need a different lens. You need to be looking at a whole bunch of different aspects.
So does number 2 get at some of that? Because we have to have at least 50% of the members certified with one worker rep and one employer
But see,
rep
this is what I
certified.
didn't understand what
saying
that certified meant.
To do what, or be what?
Okay, I thought, I read it as being health and safety certification, like first aid and CPR.
Well, I would say that then, if that's what you mean.
Or it means to be certified as a JHSC
That's the one.
member. And then what we have to understand is, does being a JHSC member include being CPR qualified?
So that's where we get into the health and safety policies, because I think
Yeah.
that is defined in the health and safety policies.
I feel like that would be in the terms of reference for the committee,
Okay.
which is not approved by the board.
Mhm.
Yeah, to me, there's some unclear things in their goals.
So can we
Should
maybe
we defer this one?
wait
defer
on,
this till
defer
May?
this and, yeah, and get,
I mean, you
Yeah,
can
I
still go
think
ahead
so.
and work on this stuff, because I don't think it
Yeah.
changes anything.
What
But I
may-
would like clarification and by being very much more specific. So when you're talking certified, what does that mean? And if it means certified as a member of the committee, which I find weird, like why
Committee
do you need to
responsibilities
be
versus,
certified to get on the
first
committee? It's more in terms of what qualifications you need to be on the committee, which might mean the CPR, et cetera, et cetera.
We do have a health and safety committee meeting tomorrow, so
Okay.
on part 2, so I could actually add this to the agenda, and it would make sense for them to take a look at it too.
But again, they're looking at it from their knowledge base and what they've been used to, so we're just looking at it with no knowledge base and a different lens, and it's just.
can I suggest we move this motion, but adding and request clarification of quote certified in number 2, that's the main
Mhm.
piece we're after. We
Okay.
put that into the motion.
Yeah, and also clarification, I think, about number 6, because is it just training for the investigation, or is it training for how to manage how to manage an incident?
Yeah,
Is there-
it's two different things. And number 5, like it says, 3 training sessions. And again, I'm not quite sure what they're hoping to achieve with those training sessions. So what were they thinking of when they're saying 3 training sessions?
I think the topic would just be what's required based on maybe what's happened, what staff have mentioned they need a refresher on. That's my understanding of it.
Well, see, it could be also as a result of the injury, we've identified these lacks, and that's what the training session is based on then. So there.
Okay, so let's do something different. Let's ask you to go back to the group, and I think you've heard the questions.
Yep.
And then we will defer any endorsement, because we don't necessarily understand everything here.
Okay.
And maybe put it back onto if you need it sooner rather than later, you can put it on the March agenda. And if it's okay to wait until we do policy review in May, that can be your judgment.
Okay.
And I guess the other question do we even need to endorse these? I mean, I think that's kind of where you're coming from. This is a committee of the staff. Normally, that's an operational issue.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be us. But I'm flagging for you that there's some there's ambiguity in here. And that might be just not
If it's
expressed.
a risk, if it wasn't being managed, I'm sure it is, but if it wasn't, then it would be a risk and we would have to know, so,
Yeah.
yeah, we're just,
Because this ladders back up to the policy.
yeah.
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 So when we look at the policy, then hopefully some of this will be clarified. Because I'm really quite interested in how you do your incident analysis. Because I've not read anything on that yet. And then what your requirements for these committees are, so that all goes back to this certification piece. Anyhow, I've said enough about that.
Well, I think this board can probably offer some efficiencies, that's the end of it.
We have a couple of people here with health backgrounds, which is part of what, which is new. I don't think we've ever had that on the board.
Okay,
Yeah, we did review the health and safety last year, but that would have been like middle of summer.
Yeah, there was
early
like
on in
Maslow's
term.
hierarchy of, you know.
Of
what you're trying to
survival.
absorb.
You're at the survival level.
Yeah.
Every single policy, read them and agree, okay.
Because you said it was annual.
Okay, the last two items just do speak to 2024 and just back to the point about timing of this, if
And so last two items on this.
of this,
Continuous
just, I'm just
improvement?
noting, you know, onboarding, museum worker rep to be certified and
Can you
CEO to
go
be
down on the
certified.
page, please?
Yes.
I just wanna make sure there's no implications to timing of delivery if we hold the very last two items, keep them,
Oh.
they're the 2024 specific, so. I don't know if you need anything, you can go ahead with those if
Yeah.
those are important.
And we, tomorrow's health and safety meeting is part two of a meeting that just went on forever and we didn't get to everything. But what we did get to at that meeting was talking about the certification, so yeah,
Okay.
that, and we don't need any board approval for that.
And your point is well taken, Chris, I'm not sure why we are approving these, and is there a reason for that? Or endorsing, I guess, we're not actually approving, we're endorsing them, but why, what's the impact of that? Or is it an obligation somehow under one of our policies?
I think I've looked at the policies recently and I'm almost positive that the health and safety policies are just mimicking the legislation. Like there's no procedural,
No
I
details.
guess, exactly, I'm pretty sure.
Well, endorsing it is a way of
Okay.
receiving it as well, right?
And
It's
we got-
information that's been conveyed to us, and
Yeah,
we're,
but we did
No.
receive it earlier in the agenda too, so,
we did, and now we're endorsing them to continue, right?
yeah,
There's certain directions in here.
yes, yeah. But they could take the directions without us endorsing them, which is why we don't, it doesn't really matter whether we endorse it today or not. Yeah. Okay, so I think you know what you need to do for us for the next steps with this policy.
Basically flag what we perceive as vulnerabilities.
Well, and the next one is the risk assessment, so
Um, So my only questions related from this report has to do with the facilities piece in the last page. So I think this is where Sabrina had pulled out the things that have not been accomplished.
mm,
And I think that is something that's worth, Jen, you reviewing with, I'm not sure whether, well, Sean, I guess would be your starting point, but maybe other people say, so where are we on some of these things that are scheduled for here? And how do we get them into agendas? Because some of them have been into budgets, because some of them have been sitting out there, they originally budgeted in 2019 or 2020, and here it is, you know, supposed to have been in 2023, and now we're looking at 2024. So I know it's a hierarchy of, you know, some of the needs in town, but how do we make sure we get onto their, your maintenance and repair agenda?
Have you met Phil?
Yes.
Yeah, so Phil's got this kind of working.
I'm pretty sure he was actually here right before the meeting, asking for, plans for the library. And essentially, I think he's working on a report that might expand the needs for this specific building, because he's owning in on some of the accessibility stuff beyond the tower.
Oh, okay.
Well, the washrooms was another big
And the
issue.
washrooms, yeah.
Yeah, Phil's very thorough.
Yeah,
Okay.
But he's very thorough, and that's why he's the manager of fleet and facilities, so like,
Yes.
he's heading by himself, he's the only,
Yeah.
he's the one-man show. And so he's heading asset management, like this building is an asset to the town, right? So he's heading that management plan and formulating a plan, a
Yeah.
work plan he's coming up with. So that's, it's good, someone's looking at it.
Mhm.
I can't tell you,
And beyond with the legislation.
yeah,
Because the AOD is the minimum.
and his thing, sorry, his
Yeah.
thing too is also, you know, he's always trying to encapsulate and include green products too, right? Green productivity, like, he's all about that stuff, like, he's all over it, so,
I'll have to follow up
He
with
would be a
him.
good friend to have.
yeah, no, he's good. Yeah, definitely, I would encourage you to follow up with him,
Okay,
because, yeah, it was just Christmas holidays and people are doing things and, you know, we kind
I
of.
thought we replaced some windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We have some.
that was
of
my
them.
question in here, was just if we can be really specific as to which windows, whether it's a sub, you know, what windows,
those ones have
what
been
windows
fixed.
remain to
Those are
be
there.
done.
Yeah,
And because a number were done, so I
Yeah.
just think it's important, because when you just say windows, oh my God, we have to do them all.
right.
yeah.
Or is there, you
Is
know,
it just two left?
and maybe it is a
Or
real
maybe-
question is, you know, the higher up ones need, you know, they're more of a priority because we're gonna have whatever needs to be done. I just think,
Yeah.
I would say making sure that we're clear on specifics, even if it's an inventory list somewhere that we're like, yep, these have been done and we're checking off and now these remain.
I
it
think
just-
that exists somewhere.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Before Sabrina left too, she did, I can't remember it all, but she did tell me
Yeah,
which, but yeah.
Yeah,
As I said, Phil's really, he's very confident, like, he knows what he's doing. And he doesn't have to necessarily put some of these projects through the budgetary process, because we have the working capital fund, right?
Mhm.
So depending on the size,
Yeah.
like, you know, the police station, not more than, you know, in October, December, he came and said, well, the police station, the windows are literally falling out of the building wall, like this. I don't even get into it, but
like these
the windows were literally falling out, and so, you know, he came and he said to council, he said, I need $50,000 or $80,000 to replace all the windows in the police station, because it's one of our capital, that's one of our assets. And it was like, okay, it just comes out of the working capital budget,
Mhm.
so,
I'm sure somebody else here would know which windows too, if you can't find a report on it, like
Yeah.
Lisa probably would know.
Yep. I know there's some in the story tower, and then I think the main windows across from the circulation desk still need to be done, because they still
The
leak.
courtyard windows.
Yeah,
And was there no work done to the story tower? Anyway,
I believe not.
okay, I don't know why I thought there was something had been done.
Yeah, I know there's an issue about the
Draining.
roof. They're gonna be lowering the roof or something to try
Well,
and,
on the floor, so it's all.
and raise the
yeah.
floor.
None
Yeah,
of
there
that
was,
has
I don't think either of those happened because they're
No.
very expensive
Okay.
projects.
And some people like the tower, so they didn't want.
Well, that was also,
Oh, that was
remember,
major pushback, right? Everybody wants the tower to
yeah,
stay.
yeah.
Okay.
it is pretty
Save the bell
amazing.
tower.
Maybe we can't get these people.
Okay,
I know.
is there anything else under the risk
Separate
assessment?
initiative.
No, okay. Thank you. Next item is the CEO service update for January. If you can, so one thing I noticed is that almost all of our year-end 2023, our numbers are higher than the end of year 2022.
Okay.
And I think that maybe YouTube channel views went down.
Yes,
What?
I would like it if we could, so I think this is what I was trying to say earlier. So I checked to see what we told council we were gonna be at year end and whether it was similar to this. And the good news is yes, for what is there. But we had on slide, the metrics overview. We, I think, Joanne, it's fair to say, you and I feel very good about the way we presented the data there. So would it be possible to align your reports more to, man, maybe we could sit down and do this, like, rather than leave you to figure it out.
I think it'll be part of our discussion, but I
Yeah,
think what she's talking about is this slide where,
so we had population, well, that's all right, that's standard, but we had
Yeah.
total visits, total program attendance, card holders, and then we did some ratios, like cardholders as a percentage of population. So the really good news is we said 4955 by the end of the year, and oh my God, we really struggled with getting Sabrina to commit to,
Active users, is that the number you're on?
yeah, like for some, the way she thinks about
Regardless, I
data.
think,
yeah,
I think what would just be helpful is, this information is helpful, and we're looking, you know, there are different views for different reasons, but, and what we can do is share with you the, I guess what did you call it? The single source of truth?
Yeah, the single source of truth.
Yeah, so it's only one, you know, I mean, we don't wanna create extra work for you, but this, you know, this is how if we are presented next, when we go next to council, the easiest thing is, here's what you've seen before, now here's the numbers now, and these are what we feel are just at the high level, like executive summary level, what's the most important
Yeah.
things to be.
Anyone
Keeping an eye on.
monthly?
No, well, we're reasonable, but it's just that this, like, one of the first things
Single
that we
source of
asked when
quarterly.
we got here was, how well are we doing? How do we know as new board members how well the library is doing?
Yeah,
And I think at the end of the year, when we made that presentation, we were able to know. And so now this data is good, but it's not quite the same, so.
Right.
well, I think it's a matter of pulling, there's some information here, all you're doing would be pulling in certain numbers out and
Putting in
like,
some
it's
different
like, this
ones,
is the
yeah.
executive summary, and then you have the more detailed stuff, because we
Yeah.
do, you know, the types of programs, you know, the team
We want
programs,
that, yeah.
that's interesting, and it is good to know.
Do you want to see the
so-
programs identified by demographic?
Yeah,
You do, okay,
that is
Yeah.
important.
okay.
I think if you go back to what was done in November for council, that's really what you're saying, is that's the kind of
Yeah,
tracking you want.
Yeah, and then for the year, like coming, we'd sort of like to know, okay, so this is how well we're doing vis-a-vis our targets, and I know that seems to be maybe a bit more of a foreign term to, because you kind of, libraries just, you get what you get. But we were looking for more, well, what do we expect to see, and how well are we performing to what we expect? Are we over because we're growing like gangbusters, you know? Or is something, you know, fallen off for some reason that we need to know about?
yeah.
So we can maybe,
I think this kind of thing would be good quarterly, because month to month isn't gonna tell us much of the story. And I think really the real value of it is just an instant snapshot that says, okay, something's off. And it's, so whether it's plus or minus versus previous year is really the most important thing, because in our terms, like, it's really a year period that things change. And if something looks really off, so that we can, it's really so that you know you can act on something more quickly than at the end of the year going, oh, wow, we should, if we'd known just before summer that whatever was off, that, you know, nobody was attending seniors programs, or that we'd had a huge drop, then maybe there was some action. So that's the purpose of that kind of thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
question is, what do we as a board care about? Because you're gonna be collecting that information anyway, and this is
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
reported to the ministry. So these are you know,
Yes.
obligations for collection, and then you
Yeah.
can use it operationally. What you guys wanna talk about
Yes.
appropriately is what do we
Yeah.
want in terms of governance, and what do we want to be able to tell stories
Yeah.
to
And it
council?
goes
Yeah.
back to your strategic goals too.
Yeah.
Like, so what are we striving for?
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And I
we
think
may
this
not
is-
need
this
this
is what we
stuff
need.
at all monthly.
yeah, exactly. Or maybe quarterly, but like the one thing that I see is missing is the total visits. Now that is the counter of people coming through the door
Yeah, here,
here.
yes.
So I don't know if I mean, we did present that to council, but that's really important if we're advocating for an expansion is,
Yes.
and you can see it's going steadily, well, we're not back to pre-pandemic, but there was also some queries we had about data.
Some of these numbers all, in terms of the visit, there's 3 visit numbers: gallery attendance, physical, museum visits, tourist classroom visits. And they're all up. But I don't see, is there an
Yeah, library.
overall library visits, just?
For some reason, we presented that.
Well, yeah,
Total
because
visits?
it's,
Well,
Everybody who walks in the door.
Because we won't, because it's very important to acknowledge that that card holders.
People come,
That
for-
card holders is only one metric, and
Yes.
people come who may not be card holders, and they might not be, you know, and it's a community hub,
Yeah.
that's the community hub.
Yeah,
Number.
yeah.
metric.
Metric, yeah,
yeah,
so anyway,
So this is a discussion we'll be having in
Yes.
February, right? 'Cause
Okay.
that's part of our
Yes.
dated
Okay.
discussion. in
I
the-
have comments too. I'll wait until February, but I kept it the same
yeah.
for this meeting, but I also have. some
okay, good, so you
comments
have maybe some
Yeah.
suggestions.
So I guess in the short term, we can say that we as a board don't need to see it that way.
That's right.
And we'll have a discussion in
I
February
think
before we hit March. and-
Although we would like to hear if there's a flag to say, we don't have any more kids coming in, so what happened?
Yeah,
So where there's a great discrepancy from past
yeah,
practice.
unexplained,
Well, we
yeah.
do need to see it, we just don't need to see it every month. And so we had a really challenging time trying to project to the end of the year, because at first we thought, oh, we'll just go back and sum up everything, but we would only get it periodically, and, you know, we'd be missing months, so there's just opportunities to.
Yeah, there's two opportunities to be more consistent, in what we need to see.
There's a year to
and
date, I
also
think, would
maybe,
be
and this might be
helpful.
what you were looking at is, there's no, like, don't fill in a chart if you're already doing a different one for your own record somewhere. We're probably okay to look at that, right? It's, you know, let's make sure we're not creating
So
extra
that's a
work.
duplication.
If, as long
But
as.
this is what you said was the ministry numbers, so they're
But this
being
is
done
what you're doing.
anyways.
Yes,
But what we're looking for is probably one step more.
Well, I think the only thing that's missing is this, and is it relevant even, but I
Total
think so,
visits.
that total visits.
Yeah.
But we're not even 100% sure we were that satisfied with data quality, were we?
On what we pulled together, yes, there were some things that we removed.
Well, in the
because
past,
Yeah.
There were
in
some
the
things that we
past.
pulled out because we
Yeah.
weren't
They
sure,
were
and
soft.
also, you know, I mean, again, just all the COVID stuff and everything, so, yeah, no, the numbers that we presented, that's what we guarantee, we said, this is what we pulled together, we know is consistent, we know has been validated, sorry, that's the word. I'm looking
Mhm.
for, yeah.
Is there anything you want to say about this chart now? Because you said there's some things you were concerned about? Or,
not necessarily concerned, just I have ideas of what could be included that
Okay.
isn't,
Okay.
things like that. And actually, now that we've had this discussion, I'll probably make some more suggestions too, based on what you want to see. One of my questions was whether you really needed to see it, the programs broken down that way.
Well, we did have a chart, did we not, on the different
Yeah,
types of
yeah, I mean,
programs?
Again, whether
But
it's
that's
monthly or not, but
quarterly maybe,
it
yeah.
is important. I think if this, again, if you're doing this on a monthly basis anyway, and you prop it in here, and at meetings, it's literally just, I'm gonna flag something,
Yeah,
that's all it is. And if any of us are curious and, you know, we can look at the whole chart and that's fine, but not, I mean, I don't know that we're gonna spend a lot of time. It's really only that you're flagging great numbers or concerns. Because that's our role, right? So,
Mhm.
but yeah, oh no, it's coming down to communication. I have a question about newsletters, but.
I'll just flag this too. I am going to host 2 drop-in sessions for the public to meet
Yeah, so
the
that.
CEO. Just for those that weren't able to come to the
I think it's an excellent
orientation.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one will be at the
How
museum on
How are you gonna
purpose.
get the word out?
Pardon me?
How are you gonna get the word out?
Through all of our
All of
channels.
our channels.
It'll be, I believe, well, should the board approve it, in the key messages. We'll do some social media promotion.
On the front board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do lots of stuff, but I'm hoping that it will bring more people into the depot too and draw attention to that space. I did have an interview actually with Collingwood today. I think it was my second week. And we did do it at the museum too, so then we could do a tour and then, so that's really been kind of at the top of my list, I guess, as a space I would love to draw more attention to.
Does anyone have any questions? You mentioned something, Joanne.
Yeah, I was just curious. I'm assuming that these are not unduplicated numbers in terms of the newsletters that go out. So if I totaled them all up, it was about 2,600 different, or 2,600 people have opted into the newsletters, but I'm wondering if there's duplication. So, because I know I get them all. I think I get them all. In which case, our largest list would be the 1571.
Yes.
Right, so the reason I'm asking is, again, just back to the comments that were made, is that the town has 3,500 people, like they email, when they do the emails, there's 3,500 people in their database, and just that opportunity to expand our message through theirs. And also thinking, maybe, just to your point, maybe it's a, reminder to people to sign up for the newsletters. It's an easy.
That's a good idea.
Easy thing, because the more people you have, on the list, the better, better communication.
I'm sure that'll come up with your conversation you have.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm literally just thinking whether it's a sign at the, the book checkout, like, have you signed up for the newsletter? Have we, or little prompts here and there.
I should know this, but it may also be part of when we are registering new patrons to the library. And if it's not, it will be.
It should be.
I anticipate
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is part of the process, and that's pretty standard protocol at libraries too.
So,
Yeah, I didn't realize that the municipalities had that far of a reach.
that's, yeah.
Tim, the team done a good job in the last couple of years. They really grew it.
Yeah, that is a really impressive number.
Are we like 4,500 households? Or if you, I think, like, what's the tax base number, I think would be the number of residents or something. Okay, anyway, it's fine, I was just curious, just in my head, I'm like, that was like almost 90% of households, which is pretty good, but anyway. Yeah, that was it.
Those people that come into the board meetings, on,
It's all my family.
I just wonder if they sit through the whole meeting.
It's my husband making fun of me. Yeah, good question. Do they, can we tell how long they've been?
Or they just go in for 2 minutes, say I'm boring.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I don't think we know the answer to that. I don't think that.
Do you
we
really
can
want to
tell.
know?
No,
Okay.
It's a joke.
it's just a
Yeah.
curiosity.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think they can tell though through IT programs how long anybody's in there, but,
Mm-hmm.
because I know from other places I've worked where they can see all the different spots that you navigate to.
And where the drop off is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, after the first minute and a half, yes, okay. Okay, anything else on this report? No, okay. One question I had, and this is actually information for you, when I met with the mayor back in December, she mentioned that she had done some programs for different groups in town about her trip to Dubai and the COP28. And so I talked to Jen about, we sponsor one here, and I know you reached out to her and hadn't heard back, and so you sort of reached out again.
Yes,
Mm.
so hopefully we'll
Yeah.
get it. but-
Yeah, the sooner, the
Great.
sooner the better, and it's still fresh on people's mind that she was there in December.
Mhm.
Be nice, but, she needs to free some time, I guess, to do it for us. So under other business, we had the OLA conference.
Yes, because I think somebody might have signed me up, I don't know, but I cannot go.
I was just gonna say, unfortunately, I have an appointment here, I can't.
I
so
could do
can't go.
online, which I know isn't nearly as good, but I just, this year, I'm still working, so.
This website's,
I just don't want, I don't know what was booked.
I don't believe we've paid for
Okay,
any tickets for board members.
okay.
Didn't you buy a sort of institutional
I
attendance
feel
or
like
something?
she might have, she talked about doing that.
She talked
Yeah.
about having
Yeah,
booked
she did.
rooms and stuff too.
Yeah, I
but-
know.
But I don't know whether she acted on it that way.
Yeah,
Okay, well, hopefully we haven't.
I don't think so.
We haven't purchased,
any of the meal
Okay.
tickets or anything? other-
no,
Okay,
but we do, just as information, I will be going and two other staff members will
Well,
be
that's
going as
great,
well.
yeah.
And one of the staff members, it'll be her first time, so I'm really excited for her to go.
Well, I will make the assumption that if there's any great learning that any of the three of you make, that will be reported back, so.
but do we have to pay to do the online?
Yes,
Oh,
but board tickets are a lot cheaper. Actually. I can look it
so
up.
do you want me to look at that and just see? Cause if
Yeah.
it's the same as last year, there was a lot of like, well, it won't be because,
Says it closes Friday.
okay, tomorrow, okay.
Wait, where did you see
Registration.
that?
It just said,
That's early bird.
Yeah, I've seen people buy tickets
The
a
day
day
of,
early.
yeah.
oh, maybe it's just an early
It's
bird.
just a different
Yeah,
price.
early bird probably,
And for
and
the
the prices
regular
go up after early bird.
Streaming ticket, there we are at the bottom.
Streaming ticket virtual, members,
Student, speakers.
So 175,
Ooh,
and so if any of us or whoever wanted to, do we pay through the library or do we pay ourselves and get redeemed?
I'll buy
We
them.
buy them?
Okay, hold on a minute. It says the boot camp is back in person, so is it even streamed? Cause I know a lot of conferences are not,
It's a good question. The speaker, open keynote.
That one seemed appropriate for us.
Defend your libraries?
yeah, have you
Yeah,
allowed?
that looked really interesting, actually.
Oh, no.
now remember, you only have $1.2 million to spend, don't spend it all in one place.
and what about that working with our municipality, you know, they're,
This one.
That's what I said right here. It says
Yeah.
Yeah.
1.176.
We are.
300. That's included. We'll spend it all in one spot.
Hmm.
You can't just go in for a presentation, you have to go in for a
Yeah.
package deal. and-
it may only be on,
There you are, online registration is January 19th.
what?
It did say online
Will be
registration.
closed.
No, but that's registration, but what about, does it say anything about attending virtually?
Oh, and they charge you more now if you're registering on site.
They usually do, I know on conferences I've been to,
Is that typical?
because it makes all their planning kind of go amok, because they're doing for meals and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a good
Oh,
point.
there's a streaming ticket.
Yeah, can you just scroll down to, so we can see what it says it includes?
More information on registration categories, I wonder if that
Yeah,
would be helpful.
I always end up calling because I get confused.
Oh my God, it took me 20 minutes to find this page.
Yeah, the website's difficult to navigate on top of.
So what were
Looking
we
for
an
board.
organizational member? I thought that's what we were.
Well, you have to renew your memberships every year.
Is it organization or is it individuals?
I think both.
Okay, so I kind of thought we had a
Hmm.
BNPL membership that gave us certain access. But I don't know.
I'll look into that.
So I guess what we're hearing is that some people are interested in participating in some sessions virtually.
Virtually.
And how do we do that? Is there something that's already been purchased, or is it
Yeah.
something we
Yeah.
need to purchase? And if so, I guess those people that want to do that need to tell you what they want to attend, and you have to figure out what you have to do to make that happen.
I would
Yeah.
suggest that $175, I'm not as interested. Like, I mean, I think if one person could,
Yeah, I would
Access
really
and
like
that's
to
the
be there
time,
in
that's
person, but I can't do it this year, so I think I'll maybe just skip it then. You'll bring back anything.
Now, would you think about attending any of the boot camps for governance?
I was thinking that, and to be honest, I've never attended conference as a CEO. So I'm assuming that a CEO can go
Yeah,
to
you
those
should be.
sessions.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Okay.
just go, nobody's gonna.
Because I think we are in
Yeah.
defend mode. And I forget what the other one was that was interesting, like to join.
But is it the municipality or being loud with municipality or something like that?
The working with the
Well,
municipality
working
and
with
the
you
other
in
one.
with this one.
The other one
It's not
was,
very-
This
yeah, it was
one.
defending, yeah.
oh, I'll
Yeah.
have to go. This is actually one of my former professors.
Uh,
He's the best.
Good. There you go. Anyhow, those are the two that flagged of interest, but
Okay.
I'm not really in the position to go either.
I will. That one, actually, I think, I can't remember if they're still looking for conveners too, so I'll probably volunteer to do that if I'm there on the Saturday. I'm excited because one of the sessions that I'm convening is basically just like introducing the speaker and, is about a GLAM in Clarington. They just established a GLAM, I think like a year ago.
Okay.
So I'm actually really excited for that session. It'll be a good networking opportunity too, but I have some questions GLAM related for them.
Great.
Okay, so is that it for that topic? Roundtable, is there any community updates or news that we need to share?
Actually, I have a question. There was going to be changes in your webpage, which I think Franz is looking after, a website for,
The gallery?
no, in terms of community outreach, community.
Oh,
support.
was it the community, what were they called,
Oh,
community
the what?
builders?
Yes, that's it,
Yeah,
that's the word.
yeah.
Do you know where that's at in terms of plans?
It'll probably be in the 2024 action plan.
Okay.
It'll have to be now, isn't it?
It can't be in 23.
Yeah.
Well, Emma's coming back, so that's really something that she's been wanting to champion.
But when does she come back?
I think June,
Okay.
yeah,
We have a ways to go. So this will happen after that time frame then? Okay.
Okay.
Just wanted to know the timing.
Because it was noted as complete on the,
No, it's
oh, was it
No,
not?
but
No,
no.
oh, okay, I thought it
I
was, my bad.
saw this.
That's
been
fine.
deferred.
Oh,
yeah.
deferred, okay.
So that's fun, that painting is,
I
that's,
know
that's,
that.
that's on Mayor McQueen's land, eh?
Oh.
is it really?
That's his land, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
lonely old
that.
House out there. He owns like that, mostly that whole chunk.
I love that painting.
Like his,
I didn't know
his
that.
ancestors settled there, right? When the
Well, there's
McQueens,
cows usually grazing around it.
well, they're walking
Yeah.
through it, and there's a
That was
tree
nice.
growing up through the middle of it kind of thing, yeah, yeah, that's funny.
I should send him a screenshot of this.
Yeah,
It's, I'm sure a lot of people have stopped and taken pictures of it.
oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't remember the roof being red anymore, so,
No, I don't think it's, that might have been some creative liberty.
yeah, with the artist.
Okay, anything else under roundtable? Anything under roundtable at all? No, okay, that's fine. I know you highlight some things on here for a purpose. Jen, do you want to comment on any of them? I mean, you've already mentioned your meet and greet.
We do have the exhibit reception February 3rd, if any board members are available to attend.
Yes, apparently our absence is noted.
Oh, is it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not something I really want to commit to myself personally, but if other people.
Okay, so
are closer.
February
Yeah.
3rd,
What day of the week is that?
That's
It's a
Friday.
It's always a
Saturday.
Saturday. It's always the first
Yeah.
Saturday of the month,
Mhm.
and it's a wine and cheese reception.
Yes,
Mhm.
and this one,
I
I'm
can
really
come.
excited for this particular show too, because the February shows are the salon shows. So it's tons and tons of art everywhere, and you don't necessarily have to be a professional or, you know, a well-renowned artist. It could just be, it's an amount, like it's everything, so.
Montage of.
Montage,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good word. And yeah, this year, so every February, the show is typically like a color, that's the theme. Last year was black and white, this year is celebrating the color turquoise. So it'll be interesting because turquoise can be a little bit more blue, a little bit more green, and so there'll be a diversity of.
so what
pieces.
time on the
It's
Two o'clock.
Saturday?
Starts at
2 o'clock?
It's 2 to 4.
Typically 2 to
normally,
4, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
I'll come.
And where your board badge, people
Oh,
know you're a
yes.
board member.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say,
Yes,
I
and
think,
you
you
can-
know, I felt last year like it was sort of like, if we can, we should, but I do feel, I mean, I came to the last one, which was lovely, and I do think it's important. I think we should be making more of a concerted effort, and, you know, again, it's availabilities, not just to the gala, but other, you know, the events. Because I think it is important that we see us here.
Be visible.
and to be visible, not necessarily by role, but be visible, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna put it in my calendar for every month. Let's see.
So
I like
is
it.
that really the purpose of the special events section, is really, it's supposed to be a nudge? For us to come?
My interpretation of it was just so that you're aware of upcoming things.
Yeah,
I don't think there's necessarily a,
I don't think we can be forced, but I feel if advocacy is part of our role,
Mhm.
then being at these events where residents are there and. you
Well,
know,
I
it's
signed up for the
important.
HCC
And-
presentation.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, with Ken?
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, Ken.
I won't be here for that. I wanted to come. I've actually never seen Ken public speak.
Mhm.
No, I haven't.
So-
Oh, yes, I have
Oh.
once, because he talked about,
I signed up, but I actually have a course I'm taking now, so I need to unsign up and I don't know how. Because I'm imagine seating is limited, or is it just,
It would be like the capacity of the room, I would think, which is
And-
over
and
a
it's
hundred.
so
never-
I'm okay to just not show up? Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I can maybe go in the back end and delete it, but it's not.
okay,
it's never full, all the chairs are. never-
okay. That's too bad. I thought it sounded so interesting.
Yeah.
He does
Stop
apparently
it.
draw a really big audience though, which
And
doesn't
he's
surprise
actually a
me.
good speaker. too.
Yes, yeah.
I read his books too, which is good. He's had some amazing adventures.
He has.
Okay. Key messages. So I guess
Yes.
I,
Process wise, do we go through this while recording? Do you remember?
We do, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I took a stab at,
I'll put your,
yeah, and I see when I printed it that the formatting is all spooky and the highlighting is all spooky and a lot of dots, because I wasn't trying to write the whole thing, I was trying to identify topics. Oh, look at that, you know, it's all spooky too. Even the bullets went weird, different ways.
I give this
And we don't necessarily have to write all these things, but again, here as well, it's really identifying the topics and the kind of messages that we want. Yeah, I know with the whole spacing of wonky and I don't know why. Part of the problem is when I work on sometimes when I work on a document, because I'm on Mac, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And then I put
it
a-
changes when you go to
Yeah.
Word, yeah.
So none of that should be bolded, in the whole section that's
Yeah.
up there is bolded in red.
Sorry, I'm still reading the first part.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
sorry.
Yeah,
I forgot that we were all looking at this.
Yes.
Yeah, because what we have isn't there.
Sorry.
So let's start up by taking off the
Wait,
bolding.
these
on
are all
those.
key messages?
Yes, this is what I thought were the key messages, the key topics anyway, from our meeting today. I worked on this yesterday.
Okay,
Isn't that a lot of key messages?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of detail. Like, do we just say we reviewed the 23 action plan?
I would, well, it depends on what I see this document as being, is notifying the community of
The work we're
the work
doing?
that the board is doing at the governance level.
Okay,
And so it's really up to us to indicate what we think is important to be out there.
okay.
So you can,
I also, correct me if I'm wrong, when I was studying these key messages, I also almost looked at it as like a highlights from the meeting. If you weren't here, you didn't watch it,
Mm-hmm.
or you can say, oh, yeah, I'd be interested, you will go back and watch it.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is about our action plan and the high completion rate. Not, but still a few outstanding that are being moved forward.
Or you can just stop the action plan at completion rate of 95%. The 5, 4, whatever outstanding items have been deferred to 2024,
Yeah,
or will be reviewed for.
yeah,
So if you want to type that sort of thing in right off, right now, you certainly can.
Yeah, I think it could be reviewed.
Just the outstanding items.
And I'm guessing 4, which all were, you'd have to go back and double check. And I think you had some of that in your report itself.
I did.
Or you can
Yeah.
also just say the outstanding items. It's
yeah,
4,
the
6,
outstanding
whatever.
items
Nobody
have
knows how
been
many
moved
there are.
forward too.
Yeah. Then-
Yeah, that's good.
Ah. I can also read this out aloud if you want me to.
Oh, that's good.
Should we talk about, just as it relates to valuing Ontario Life Toolkit, maybe should we put in brackets SROI if someone's for social return on investment?
We just said, applying tool to BNPL to measure the social return on investment.
Sorry, it was, yeah, and, sorry, work has begun to generate, is to generate the BNPL SROI, that's what the language. For BNPL.
And you'll have to say social return on investment, because people won't
Yeah, people don't
understand.
know what that means.
Yeah, some people won't know what SOI stands for.
It's not tool, it's report. Yeah. I was gonna talk about time, but we're not there yet, okay. Great.
Okay.
Yeah, important.
Yeah.
You wanna move it? Sorry.
Yeah, I would do under empowering
Oh,
services,
you-
because the main focus for you is the service level, so. And that's, people disagree, but
No, makes sense.
You want that out?
I took it out, so it wasn't a board item.
Okay.
Yeah, they're sending this feed, I got that this morning too, they wanna know how we rate the reviewing, and Word seems to be asking questions.
Who's that?
Oh, it just said, please evaluate how well you're reviewing and revising.
Oh, the words, the automatic, the, like,
It's like a
This-
little QA they're doing, Word, I guess, or Microsoft. Yeah, okay. We didn't approve all of those.
No, we just reviewed.
Yeah, reviewed, okay.
That was somewhere else.
Where do we put the, oh, you've got it there, the board appointment, sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't see that.
Mhm.
Oh, my goodness.
It's behaving oddly.
Maybe take track changes off, because that's what's screwing
I
it
did
up.
turn it off, but I haven't, I'll just
Yeah.
accept everything, I guess.
So, yeah, so we need to speak to, so community hubs, and did we want to make a key message about the
Mhm.
meeting?
With council? Yeah,
Uh,
That, something like library boards, submitted a letter in December to request review of, a motion. I'm sure how detailed we want to get into, and that we plan on attending the January 29th meeting, will be discussed, I don't know.
to request a notice of motion, is that what we did?
No, we didn't, we
No.
asked
Oh,
to
to-
request review of a,
Oh, right.
well, I can
request-
actually figure what
To
the.
request a review of the,
All that.
Oh, my motion.
of the motion.
but I would think that we should be maybe more focusing on the fact that we presented trends, demonstrated a need
Yeah,
for an
yeah.
expansion.
You're right, 'cause we
Yeah.
never did a,
Yeah.
yeah, anything following that meeting, so
Yeah.
there was no.
No, I was gonna, I think, I was
Right.
gonna say the second point needs to be that it
I
was,
think that's
you
the
know,
first
yeah,
point.
Yeah,
And then
Yeah,
the second
yeah.
point could be,
Okay, yeah, so, so how would you want to summarize what you did?
the library board presented, I just,
presented the, well,
I closed the document, what did we call it? Presented to council on, trends in,
needs assessment and usage.
yeah, needs assessment and usage.
Do you
To
wanna-
demonstrate a need for expansion in the coming,
The needs assessment, maybe one second. Representative council, joint meeting on the needs assessment.
I'm sorry, presented to council. Maybe just at a joint meeting, a report on needs assessment and usage of the MPL. The MPL. Can we say something like, council response was appreciative, the information was well received?
I don't know if I'd want to get into that, because you're talking from their perspective, and I don't think it was received, we don't know if it was well received.
I don't know, we did get some.
We were
positive
pleased to meet
comments.
with council,
Yeah, yeah.
have a joint meeting with council to review the,
needs assessment and usage with an eye to future expanded services.
Yeah, I think that's the key, that was the whole purpose of that.
Mhm.
How did you word that with,
I said, the board was pleased to meet with council at a joint meeting, to discuss,
To present.
to
Slow
present
down, was pleased to meet with.
at a joint
Yeah,
meeting, to present
Yeah,
a report, yeah, with assessment.
yeah.
To demonstrate or to
Oh,
illustrate.
I know why, it's because you're on SharePoint, I can,
Oh,
yeah, we had to download it and just
Yeah,
work
with an eye to expanded services. An eye to
In the future.
expanded services in the future.
to demonstrate,
Oh, right.
maybe it's to demonstrate the
That's-
need for expansion in the near future.
I like that. I was probably just gonna say soon.
Have we published any of those charts? Are they available on our website? Can we, or can we stick something?
Oh, good point.
Well, we should update the numbers because they were projected and now we've got actuals, right? Or do we want to just put in
I
what we
would just-
presented?
Yeah, it's pretty what we
Yeah.
presented, so, and maybe if you got a couple of key charts, we could even put them in the key messages.
I closed mine. Do you have it
Again.
open still?
You should stop doing that.
I do, the summary, I mean, there were, or.
The programs for the ones, the one you did that had the teeny tiny teen, you know, the.
No, I would pick one of the ones that have those lines that go like this. that
Yeah,
show the
okay.
So,
growth.
You want
um,
something that's gonna be really easy to read and
Yeah, like
visible.
one or two and the. and
we
the-
had
and
the
those
connecting
upward
with our
lines.
community, so over 50% of residents are cardholders and visits continue to grow.
Is that a chart?
It's a chart, it's a chart, sorry.
Yeah.
How to do
It's
this?
bar graph.
Go
I'd
d-
say
go
I'd
down.
use that one.
Yeah.
That's not the forecast. The forecast comes
Yeah, go to the
later.
forecast, keep
Yeah.
going
Book
down, down,
circulation,
down,
library
down,
programs.
down, 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 down,
Future
yes,
usage.
yes,
There.
those ones that
The
show.
library future demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. That's a good one.
Cause this is, cause I was saying.
And it took me forever to figure out
Yeah.
how to get that damn trend line in. Oops.
You did a good
Visits in
job.
circulation, we had cardholders, so there's two future demand. Yeah, there's one that is cardholders and program demand,
I
Mhm.
like that. Our cardholders and program demand will grow as our community grows.
so
That was a good one.
what number is that? Okay. We'll send you it. Okay, and yes, and to your point about making the, well, in the key messages, do we just want to upload this and link to it,
The whole
the
document?
whole document? I don't know.
We could, yeah,
I mean, it's
That would be-
available, it is available through the town's website.
Yeah, I wouldn't put the
You don't
whole
wanna
thing
do
in.
that?
I would put it on our website as well, it can be under the board stuff, and you could link, if you wanna see more. Here's a
Yeah.
couple of key charts that was
Oh,
presented,
okay.
if you wanna see the rest of the report, here's the link.
I don't think it's on.
Just
the
make sure
website.
there's no
It's not-
notes. I
it's
don't
not-
think there's any notes. We took the
No,
notes out.
I'll make sure it's the version that we
The
sent to.
notes, yeah.
I can upload it with the approved minutes.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, let me see.
Okay, that's,
I think it's just the recording
Oh,
that's
yeah.
available.
Yeah, I like it when
The
it's.
agenda pack, oh, it might actually be
Yeah.
in this,
it does, yeah. Oops.
but I can put it as a separate link, because if someone doesn't click on this, yeah, it is.
Slide.
It is on the website.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. So maybe just a screenshot, it's slide 25 is the one we're talking about, if you wanted to do that chart.
And there's more than, are there not two that are like that, or is it the other one?
Oh, do you want them both?
Well, what's the other one, I
The
forget.
other one is future visits and circulation.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
What, is that 26?
That's 26. Yeah, the orange is just population.
So under empowering services, the only other one I had was year-end stats are now available. All metrics show a year-over-year increase. And I wondered about including, not necessarily all the table, but some of the tables from the CEO report, or you just want to skip that, because we've now, above it, we've put our
Mhm.
report to council.
Mhm.
I would.
Okay, so that's,
I think,
Yeah, because
we
then
did that
people
last
just get
time.
confused because the numbers are
Exactly, yeah.
slightly different.
yeah,
The last thing we need is somebody.
Well, and that'll all come out in the
Yeah.
year in review.
Good.
I'm done.
Okay, that's great. So we need to talk about when we could maybe do interviews.
Should we,
can we just adjourn the meeting? So
Yeah,
hang on a
okay.
second, let's just make sure we're all done.
Key message?
Yeah, so we need to move in seconder to approve the release of the key messages for January 2024. Chris and Sean. All in favor? That's carried. Notice of meeting, the next regular meeting is March, not February. March, whatever. March. 21st. And we have a committee of the whole meeting on February 15th.
Yes.
So we won't be broadcasting committee of the whole, the next broadcast will be March 21st. We have no closed session, so we can declare the meeting adjourned at 4:03. Okay. This is done.
Great.
Okay, now plan your, now plan your date. Now you're free to do whatever you want.
And just give me one moment.
Oh, yes, we have to, go off live.